Everybody, welcome to SQUATCH on Radio. Man, I'll tell you what, I was actually kind of jamming out to that right there. I was getting into that there. Everybody, I want to welcome everybody. We got two special guests with us tonight, man.
Good.
We got the Apalachiacola Skunk Ape project team with us tonight, and I hope I pronounced everything correctly. I always have a fear that I mispronounce something, but we'll find out very shortly. Yeah, tonight we have Mr. David Lauer and Mr. Stevie Strings. Stevie Strings, right there, he was part of our intro music right there from Stacy Brown and the Big Bad Wolves, which you just heard. Feel free to check that out. They're on YouTube, and if there's any other information, we'll find out from Stevie Strings if he feels free. He wants to mention anything along those lines. See, now we got one of our co-hosts with us, Shaky Jr., and I'm not sure where Chew is tonight. He knew all about it. I'll try to message him very shortly. But how's it going with you, Chew? Excuse me.
Oh, hell.
I didn't mean to call you Chew.
That's all good. It's all good. Everything's doing good.
Very awesome. Very awesome. Yeah, I wanted to ask you. I kind of asked you the other day. Is it too soon to announce any information in regards to the news that you shared with me the other day?
I haven't heard any more. I mean, I'm waiting for him to do a official announcement, really, but
right.
You know, I don't know. As far as I know, everything's good.
Yeah, because the reason I asked that, I actually messaged him after you gave me that information and said congratulations and everything. And he was like, he replied back with, a thumbs up emoji. So I figure hey, it sounds like it's all good to me. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so to me that's big news. That's exciting for me. To hear that too. I mean, and I'm excited for you. So I mean, I think we'll just throw it out there.
I don't care.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, everyone who's familiar with Don Peak's Wilderness Adventure, well, he's continually expanding his team, and Shaky Jr. is now the lead investigator for Don Peak's Wilderness Adventure in the state of West Virginia. So I think we should give Steve a round of applause for that. So
really
that's big news.
Really cool.
Yeah, like I said,
Really
I'm
cool
excited for you. Absolutely.
It.
Oh, most definitely. It seems like with Don Peak doing what he's doing, and I appreciate what he did with me. I'm the founder of the ECBRO, and I'm also the lead investigator for Don here in Virginia itself, which is awesome. And to me, this helps spreading awareness more about what we do, what we present to everybody, to the public. And it's getting out there. It's being put out there more and more. And, and people are coming out of the woodwork, as far as sharing information. I just recently learned some more information tonight from someone you would least expect. So, she's a friend of mine, a coworker, and I just learned a little bit of information. I have yet to dig more into it. So, it's not really much to get into on that. It's just, it's kind of regarding her father and her uncle. So I can't wait to kind of try to, get to meet them and learn some more information on that, whereabouts that took place, because it just might be one of my main research areas. So I don't know. But I tell you what, I think there's enough of me blabbing on. I think, are we, you ready to bring on our guest?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, we have both Mr. David Lauer and Stevie Strings. You guys are live with us right now. How are you gentlemen doing tonight?
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us on the show. It's amazing.
Oh.
I'm happy and excited to do it.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you both on here. So this is awesome.
Thank you.
And this is some big news here, man. I watched the video. I first heard the rumor through Miss Nikki Collins. I asked her to come on and help co-host tonight, but she wasn't sure. She's down in Texas. I think it's Texas. Yeah, I think her and her husband are in the middle of moving. So she wasn't sure if she would join us tonight. Yeah, they got a brand new home out in Texas, and with them still finishing up moving, they she said, well, I'm not sure if I could do it. She would love to, but she said we might go out tonight, and so I said, that's cool. If you can, let me know. So, but I love having her around. She's usually on the live chat, and unfortunately, my live chat is not working tonight. So I can't check the live chat. But if there is anyone listening, I will say this much: if you have a question for the guest, you can message me directly on Facebook. I got my Facebook opened up right now as I'm speaking. So I will continually I'll be watching Facebook. If you want to call and speak to the guest, please feel free to do so. You could anytime you could call in at 602-753-1963. Again, that number is 602-753-1963. And well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get into a discussion. We're going to learn about your recent activity. I mean, it was, like I said, what I was getting into. I recently learned about the rumor from Nikki, where she heard about it. I guess it was in one of the other groups, and she started sharing the link around. And so I checked it out, and I was like, dude, this is pretty cool. It's most definitely interesting.
We feel it's interesting too, and definitely cool. It was a very intense night there when all that happened.
Oh yeah.
It was very, very, very intense, and it all happened so quick. It always happens very, very fast. You're only going to get like a split second to try to get something on for footage or anything like that. So it kind of worked out for us.
That's awesome. Now, What real quick, what time of day did this take place, or it was in the evening?
It was late at night. It was at right after midnight. It was at about 12:13, and there was 3 people there. It was me and Stacy Brown and Josh Watson were there, and we had just all gotten into position, and it happened right after I got into position. It was insane.
So how far off was everybody from you when this happened?
They were a good 5 minutes, maybe 5 to 7 minutes walking away, distance in between spots, and they were both behind me in a general direction, and they were behind the position where I filmed the subject in the film.
Now, I shared the footage around, and I watched it very carefully, and like I said, it was most definitely interesting. I like how you did a reenactment. That was very awesome that you did that. Using it, one of the team members. Now I noticed, some people, I posted it. I watched some of the comments, and of course, everyone has a right to their opinion and everything. But I've seen some were saying,
absolutely.
Oh yeah, some were saying it's a little inconclusive. One person even mentioned it may have been a deer. Just awkward position, this and that. How it possibly retreated, turned around, went downhill or whatever. I don't know. I've seen a couple different things. I can't recall the rest of them, but now I personally, in my opinion, it was interesting. I wasn't there. I didn't see clearly what you saw through the film, even though I watched the footage and everything. So I mean, I can't say either. I seen we see all these different images of. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine. That's okay. It's inconclusive at best. We feel among ourselves in the group pretty confident about what we got based off of other evidence leading up to it. But any evidence that you collect or gather in relation to researching Sasquatch or Bigfoot or skunk ape, regardless of what you call them, everything that you get is going to be alleged until it's actually proven that they exist. And what it's going to take is like a crystal clear picture, HD, high res, daytime, full body pic, accompanied with some DNA, to get it truly recognized. And if you don't have that, then whatever you put out there is just going to be that. It's going to be inconclusive. It could be the best thermal footage that you could ever find, and it would never be enough to stand up by itself. So, when I see things like that in the comments and stuff, it doesn't bother me or hinder my motivation at all. I mean, I'm glad people are thinking like that and don't just automatically think, oh, it's a Bigfoot, right off the bat.
Yeah,
it's good to take that approach to it.
Yeah, you're gonna have people thinking either or, one way or another. But I mean, I'm definitely not. I personally, I'm not denying that that it could have been. It's either or. Could have been, or maybe it was something else. But I also have no doubt that you guys have Bigfoot in the area. I mean, I've seen the evidence that you guys posted. Stevie, just a week ago, we had a live YouTube podcast show, and he shared some pictures of the cast and the tracks you guys had found in that location. So I was able to share them with everybody, and they were most definitely impressive, very impressive.
That's the best tracks that I've personally found since I've been squatching. I mean, there was a trackway that Stacy and I actually found that was a lot longer, a lot more tracks in it. But that was back when we were filming the Bigfoot Bounty in Spike TV when we were on Bluff Creek. When we were back up in there squatching, and that was the only other time I've ever found a trackway that was, more than just 1 or 2 footprints before it got out of a substrate to where it was hard to track and everything like that. But those were the only 2 times in my Bigfooting career that I've ever came across extremely nice trackway like that.
That's awesome. Now I still get it. I've had people criticize everything I share, which like you said, you got to expect it. I mean, I've been dealing with it for a long time. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I feel pretty impressed with what I find and what I share. Sometimes, and this is how I felt. I don't know if you ever felt this way, but You ever found something so impressive to you that it seemed like it was too good to be true, and you were like kind of hesitant about sharing it publicly because this was too good.
Oh
who's
yeah.
gonna believe this?
Oh yeah. We find stuff. I mean, not necessarily too good to be true. That like that diamond in the rough. But sure, we've collected a lot of evidence that we've never even put out there, just for that reason, because it's inconclusive. It's enough to keep us going and get us formulating new plans and new tactics and things like that to formulate new approaches to finding these creatures. But yeah, we find stuff like that all the time. I've got a picture, a daytime picture. And to me, it's pretty significant, but to a lot of other people, it could be a blob squatch or something like that, and we didn't even bother to put that out,
Right.
And plus, that's also pending a reenactment. We want to do a reenactment of any type of footage or pictures that we get, so we can judge the size of the object in the photograph or on the footage. And so we try to collect as much data as we can and try to go through it. Put it through the group, let everybody have a say in it, and if we all feel extremely strong about it, then that's when Stacy uses those awesome video skills. He's been putting out the evidence that we collected, making the YouTube videos and stuff, and he's really good at that. And he's got a talent for that, and he hooks it right on up, and we put it out, but only after we've all looked at it and kind of picked it apart ourselves, because we know it's going to get picked apart, as soon as we put it out there. And that's another reason, we changed the name from the Sasquatch Hunters to the Apalachiacola Skunk Ape Project. Number one is because we're not necessarily going out here and like hunting these creatures like in the form that you associate when you hear hunting. We're going out here with our guns and, got a pack of dogs and we're going to let them loose and trying to, run around and hoot and holler and shoot. That's not what we're about. We're about trying to prove that these creatures exist, and that is there's no other alternative to why we do this. And also, the way that the Bigfoot community is now, if you put evidence out there, that everybody's going to take jabs at it, and the community itself, there's not a lot of unity inside of the community. And we're trying to break down some of those barriers now. We want to work with other research teams in different parts of the country. We want to learn what they've learned over their years, of researching, and we want to show and reveal, what works down here in this part of the country, so we can kind of compare notes and work together to get this thing proven, that it exists. And my personal goal, and some of the other team members, feel the same way, that, a goal to have is to get protection for these creatures. Over the years that we've been investigating it in this particular area, the Apalachicola River Basin there, that whole area near the Apalachicola River, when we first started out, we were hearing howls and we were hearing knocks like far off in the distance. And over a lot of time and a lot of work, and basically we feel like these creatures are kind of getting used to us, getting used to our presence now, and we're learning what works and what doesn't work. And our evidence, I believe it shows that we're actually getting closer, to these animals. And I believe it's the approach that you take and the mindset that you have when you go in from the beginning, that you're not going to go in here and hunt these things or try to run them down out of the woods. And that's the one thing, if I charge him after that subject in the film, and normally I would not ever do that. It was just a spur of the moment, instinctual thing, and I wanted to get more footage of it. I wanted to know where it was going, and I took off up that hill, and I haven't ran that hard since I was in the military. And if I could change one thing, it would have been just that, running after that thing. And I tell you why is because leading up to that, a few weeks prior to that, Josh Watson, he's a member of our group, excuse me, and he had an encounter out there. And what we did was, they had the encounter. We went out there and we talked about it, and we said, okay, we can jump up, we can run off into the woods where we think this thing is now, or we can let this thing think that it did scare us off, because we believe that's what it was trying to do. It didn't want us there.
Right.
So that's the approach that we took, and we said, okay, we're going to back up off of things here, and we left. We left the scene. We left it alone. We didn't come back. We left. And then the next day we go back out there, and then the team finds the best tracks that we've ever found. And they had obviously came up. These creatures have come up, and I believe that we're dealing with two different creatures because we came up with tracks of two different sizes, and I'm pretty consistent with finding a 16-inch track and a 14-inch track out there on this particular track. And we feel that taking that approach is what enabled us to get closer to this creature, because it felt like if it could scare us away once, it could probably do it again. And that's what we were hoping for, and that's how I believe I was successful in getting that footage.
Absolutely. A couple things. I want to back up. Now, I wanted to agree with you 100% on what you guys are doing. You were referring to the awareness and how you want to compare notes. That's another reason why we do the radio show, and along with the podcast too. We'd like to get everybody's input, and opinions, and then. But as far as those who do get out, such as yourself, myself, Shaky, and we get out, we find different things. Sometimes we think of new ideas. We gather new ideas from hearing what other people suggest, because what we might find up here, you guys might find similar, situations or, things down there related to what we're doing. We, a lot of what we find, we don't know what they are, but we could assume or, make suggestions on it. And as far as you going after the subject, don't feel bad or don't feel like you're crazy. I've done silly, crazy things with bears just because I wanted good video footage of bears. We got a lot of black bears up here, and one of the last times I was out, I seen a black bear. It just crossed the road. It was in the woods, and I got out of my blazer and I took off after it just to get a picture of it, and But I do crazy things too sometimes. But now here's a question. I got this question, and I don't know. I almost feel wrong by asking it, and I don't even know how to come about asking it, but I'm gonna try my best to ask this. I know I'm not saying you had any involvement or whatever, but I know I'm bringing up a name by the, I'm sure you're familiar. A lot of people are familiar with this name, but Rick Dyer.
No.
I know Stacy Brown had a meetup with him. I know that was probably just him and Stacy Brown. I don't know if what do you feel about him and what he's doing with his new video show and everything, as far as the involvement with that? Or I don't know, but
I actually have never had any involvement with Rick Dyer at all. As far as Stacy, the only thing that I'm aware of Stacy having involvement with Rick Dyer was that movie that they did, and they put out an advertisement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And I know a picture popped up of Stacy on set, and Rick Dyer was there too, and that's what I'm aware of. But personally, I have not ever, said any words to Rick Dyer. I've never met him, face to face. I've never talked to him on the telephone. I've never gone squatching with him. I've never even been in the same room as Rick Dyer.
Right.
So
I was just curious.
I'm not affiliated at all.
Right, I wasn't. Yeah, I just want to make sure you understand. I wasn't insinuating that you were, or if you have. I just didn't know what your standpoint on that was, and as far as
No worries, man. Hey, ask away. Ask the questions. Ask away.
I won't even do I won't even do a show interviewing the man. That tells you right there. That right there is just bad news. If you want to keep your credibility as a researcher, just stay the hell away from that.
Absolutely.
It's a movie
I've
too.
heard the stories.
Well, just for the record, in the past, I've done a lot of open discussion podcast shows on YouTube. I have had Mr. Dyer on the podcast before, and it was all fun and games. We had fun, we joked because I had, him and Richter, and we had a big crowd on the podcast, and
Oh yeah, hey, Richter's a blast. I like Richter.
Oh my
Richter's
goodness, yes,
cool.
I've had a lot of
he's crazy.
Yes, he is. I love that man. He's awesome. And if you haven't heard, ask him who. I next time you chat with him, I shouldn't even be bringing this up. But next time you chat with him, you ask him, "Hey, Richter, who's one of your Bigfoot researcher crushes?" And remember my name.
Okay,
you'll hear it.
I'll bring that up. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna text him after I get off the phone with you guys. I'm gonna text him. I'm gonna harass him about that.
Yeah, I've had him on a few times on podcasts. I have yet to get him on the radio show. So yeah, so he's a good guy. I like Richter.
Yeah, he is a good guy. He's a good guy.
That's awesome. So now how long have you been involved with Bigfoot research? And then as far as the Apalachiacola Skunk Ape project, if you want to kind of give us a little history on that.
Well, the Apalachiacola Skunk Ape project is formally known as the SQUATCH Hunters, which is a group that Stacy Brown Sr. and Stacy Brown Jr. Formed. It was years ago, and I know that I've been researching. Oh man, let me see, how many years has it been now? Oh, it's been over 3 years that I've been researching with Stacy and his dad and the group. But, we decided that a name change was in order because we didn't want to give the people the wrong impression. Based off what we've learned, we're a lot more professional in how we handle things. And it's an ongoing project to get these things, get it proven and get them protected. So that's why we called it the project. And, Apalachiacola, just because that area seems to be bar none, the best place in Florida that has that amount of activity there. There's been activity all over Florida, but there seems to be an excessive amount of activity along the Apalachiacola River, and that's where we're focusing our efforts is in that area.
Awesome, and that's the same part of the same exact reasons why the ECBRO we have the ECBRO Discovery Project, and it started a couple years back, and up to recently it's actually. There's a lot of things that we do try to share as much as possible publicly. I got my, I got my researcher down on the Virginia Beach. He's working on a part of the project, a lot of information for me to throw into this. I personally, I get out in the field as much as possible. I work full time, so, it's kind of hard to get out. I do have a lot of, it's not often I'm able to take weeks off at a time, which, I've already had a couple of weeks so far this year. I got another week coming up next month. So, actually I'll be hunting because it's hunting season. So, but I'll be hunting and squatching all in the same time, so,
yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot involved. Feel free to check that out. That's there's some information regarding what we do on my website, and I do try to post some blogs and share that openly as well. So, Okay. Yeah. Now, as far as the Apalachiacola, the project you guys are running here, now, I know you guys are mainly focused in one particular area with all this activities being taking place. Are you going to continue to stay in this one area? Just because apparently it's very active. There's something there without doubt. So apparently it's just a matter of time to, you guys stir something up, where you've, as far as, because I know you guys are working on probably getting further possible DNA evidence. And from what I understand, you already have DNA evidence that you've actually collected. Is that correct?
That is correct. And we actually collected some hair that was right by the tracks, some tracks that we were able to cast the day after Josh Watson's encounter over there, and we're excited about that hair. We feel really, really confident and comfortable of our, our guesses of what it could be. Right there by the tracks, at least I think it was like 6'6" off the ground, snagged on a tree. One of our team members with their eagle eye was able to spot that. We were looking for that because anytime we find tracks on the ground, if it's thick brush around there, the chances are there's going to be a hair or something that got snagged from whatever was going through there, and you can be able to identify it. through that hair. And we did send that hair off, and we're hoping to get results by the 1st of next week. And as soon as we get results, we are putting it out. We're not holding on to anything. So as soon as we know something, then the public is going to know something.
That's awesome. That is very awesome. Now, I'm just curious to know a couple things. The hair, where was the hair located? As far as where did you get? It was on a tree, you said?
Yes, it was on a tree, and it was approximately 6 foot 6 inches off the ground, and it was located right near where these tracks were that we had cast. So we feel pretty confident about that.
That's awesome. The hair itself, how would you describe the texture? I mean, was it consistent with human, coarse,
like a
or
color? It looks similar to human hair. Is a safe comparison.
Right.
It is a little bit red. The color red, let's see. The color red would be like the color of like an Irish setter or one of those like red colored dogs, like one of them red bone coon dogs or something like that. Is the color red? It would
almost
be
like an orangutan color.
Yeah, it's kind of like an orangutan color, and the hairs would be, there's some hairs in there that are about 4 inches long, I would say is about the length, and there's a little mat, like how hair gets matted sometimes.
Right.
A little like matted chunk in there too, the small, little portion of that. And we were able to get that off, and it's amazing, and we're excited about it. I can't wait. I'm on pins and needles waiting for that to come back.
Well, to me, that sounds it sounds very promising because, I mean, I'm while you're sharing that information, I'm sitting here thinking, all right, this is Florida. All right. I mean, I know Florida is known for a lot of different reptiles, but what about, mammals? I mean, what kind of mammals exist down there that would have something like that, I mean, there's some things I'm not familiar with every species that might inhabit what parts of what, up and down the East Coast. I mean, is there anything that you could, like possibly rule out that, I mean, as far as what that could have been?
Well, I mean, ruling it out, we ruled out bear, pretty quick because down here in Florida, we have black bear. That's the only kind of bear we have.
Right.
Plus, on this particular area, we have not ever seen a bear there. And we have not ever found bear poop there. We've never even found bear tracks there. And then it's not the same color as deer hair, deer fur that would be on a deer. It's not, so we were able to rule out quite a bit of the animals, that local the area that habitate that area, just based off of, what the sample looks like and the length of the hair. And different things like that. So, we felt it was a strong contender for further DNA testing, and that's exactly why we snagged it, bagged it, tagged it, and sent it on its way.
Very awesome. I'm excited just hearing this because, like as far as I'm concerned, yeah, you admitted that there's bears down in Florida, but I mean, think about it because I don't live there, so I can't say, but I feel like there's probably not that many at that down that way. Would you feel? Is it safe to say that?
I've got to be honest. I've grown up in Florida my whole life. I've never lived in any other state, excluding my time in the military. And I grew up out here in these woods from South Florida to North Florida, hunting and fishing and mudding, camping, and everything. Do you know how many times I have seen a bear out in the woods? Not one time. In my entire life, I have not ever seen a bear out in the woods, way out in the woods. I've seen a bear close up to neighborhoods, like, some dumpster diving bears and stuff, but I have not ever been out in the woods, way, way out, and seen a bear or even walked up on one. And they've just now reinstated that hunting season for bear down here. The numbers are just now getting up. Their population is increasing, to where they could have a permit hunt for them down here.
Right.
But still, in my experience, I've been out in the woods a lot, and I've seen one dead on the side of the road. And, I've seen some what I call dumpster bears, kind of around, neighborhoods and stuff like that, but never way out in the woods, not ever.
Let me ask you a question. And
okay.
I'm not familiar with Florida like you are for living there. I've been down there quite a few times, and I've heard these stories, and I don't know what's true and what isn't. But evidently, when Hurricane Andrew came through, a lot, from what I understand, a lot of primates had gotten loose. How much truth is this, or are they? I mean, I know there are monkeys down there a while because I've seen them in the Everglades. But I mean, are there
the old
primates down there?
Remember the old Tarzan
with
white smelling?
Yeah.
And a lot of them were released during the filming of that. But they're rhesus-type monkeys because we have caught one on a game cam, I don't know, a couple months back. Wasn't that right, David?
A rhesus monkey
right?
is what it looked like. Yeah, the small ones.
Yeah.
The chance of that is pretty strong. And I know, it's been a proven fact that during Hurricane Andrew, a lot of reptiles from, different pet stores and stuff like that were able to escape. And there's so many different exotic species of reptiles that are down there in those Everglades now. They have, the African anacondas down there. There's
the pythons.
The pythons are down there. They're taking over. I don't believe it's beyond the realm of possibility for there to be, a troop of rhesus monkeys, somewhere out there. Because I've heard those same stories too, growing up. Living in Polk County for a while, there was a saying that the Cypress Gardens used to have monkeys out there, and the monkeys escaped and they went all into the woods and stuff like that. We feel like we got one on game cam. I don't remember how long ago that was, but it does appear and it does look like a monkey on there. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility to be out here, and especially in maybe South Florida. Not saying that the monkeys can't go anywhere they want to. There was an escaped chimpanzee in Tampa some years back, and I still don't think that they've caught it because it's so fast, and whenever people show up, it runs away. And every now and then you would see in the paper it would come back up. Chimpanzee spotted again. And people were making jokes about it. It's been shot so many times with tranquilizers. It's like a crackhead monkey that tries to get shot with the tranquilizers now. So, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, And like I said, until you get the DNA, everything is alleged. That's why we're putting in the work. We're putting in the man hours to get out there and get it figured out what's what and who's who and where's where and all that comes into play.
Yeah. Now, here's a question. I'm sure you're familiar with this is an old photo, and from what I understand, it was taken from a elderly woman. The famous skunk ape photo, which it looks like. Are you familiar with what I might be talking about?
Yeah. Are you talking about the one in Mayaca?
Yes. I think it's Mayaca.
Okay. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. That's your neck of the woods, man. You want to take that one?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think it turned out to not be so true.
Oh, okay. See, I was unfamiliar with some of that.
Yeah, basically, if you watch any of the TV shows and some of these primate specialists say it is an orangutan. I mean, if you look at it, it definitely looks like a black orangutan. If you've seen that famous photo, and it's behind the palmettos. But yeah, there's a lot of untruth with that picture.
Okay.
Back the old lady down, period. It belongs to the sheriff.
I saw that picture just like Clyde from that Clint Eastwood movie.
Exactly.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many photos. There's so many stories. And, yeah, you hear about a lot of them, and you kind of look into some of them, and then they bypass for a period of time, and then you kind of get back to thinking about some of them. I mean, there's so much out there. I personally, it's hard for me to keep up with some of them. That's why I feel free. I felt like it was necessary to ask your opinion on that or what you guys might know about that. 'Cause sometimes there's a few things I'm left in the dark about, and I'm not afraid to say I don't know. I never heard that. Even though everyone else did, I might be one of the ones that. So I'm always looking up dealing with other stuff.
Oh
so,
yeah, I understand completely, and like that's one good thing about our group. Everybody in our group is a good guy, or a good woman, or good just a good member. Period. And everybody is allowed to think whatever they want. There's no one way of thinking, to be in the Apalachiacola Skunk Ape project. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, and we have cases to this day that we still, we'll get around the campfire and bring it back up, and discuss it because some members will think that, it has some validity to it. And then, different members will think that it won't. And it's, that's healthy for a group, to have disagreements and be able to get over them and talk them out and all that stuff. I think it makes people better researchers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, what about skeptics? Now, see, skeptics, I have skeptics on my team. They believe there's something out there, but they're very objective. Mm-hmm. They have, I have one gentleman. He's close to 60 years old. And, he had a couple things. Well, first of all, let me back up. Here's a gentleman who spent most of his life out in the woods, camping, living, whatever you name it, he's done it. He's observed a lot of wildlife, bears, mountain lions, because we do have mountain lions, here in Virginia. Mm-hmm. And, he's experienced a lot of things, seen their behaviors, but he does recall a couple things that he cannot explain. I mean, he pretty much could explain almost everything very logically. But till this day, there's a couple little minor things that he can't explain. He's even gathered information from his own close friends, things that happen. Well, I love having a skeptic on the team. He loves investigating, going to look into things. He wants to try to find answers for this and that, I present a lot of the stuff I find to him. So, I mean, I have some recent tracks that, I know I myself find very impressive. I found tracks almost 2 weekends in a row, and they weren't far apart, to be honest with you. And to me, they looked very identical to each one. Could it have been the same subject? Maybe. But when I find these, I share them personally to him as well as social media. I want to know what he's saying about these, because I tell him, I said, Richard, this is what I'm finding out here. You need to get out here more with me if you're able to. I want you to see this with me, and I want to get more of your input, He actually is leaning more towards, okay, there's got to be something to this, So, but what I'm getting at is, as far as your team, I mean, do you have anyone on your team that's, I guess you can consider skeptical or?
Absolutely, and we respect that opinion just as much as anybody else, and in fact, we feel the same way, that it's good to have a skeptic out there. And what that does is that keeps everybody kind of grounded to a certain level, if I may say, because if you've had a personal experience with a Sasquatch, okay, and then that has had an effect on you in the way that you're going to see things. And then if you have a skeptic out there that says, hey, wait a minute, this is what it could have been, it stops a whole lot of that, hey, everybody's excited all of a sudden, even though what you have is inconclusive, we feel like it's a squatch. Yeah. And that's not the way that's not the approach that we're trying to take to it. We want to know, okay, this is what it could be. It could also be this, or it could be that. We don't need to get ahead of ourselves here, and that's why we like to have them around. I mean, certainly we have more people in our group that believe than that don't, but we do have people that don't think that there's anything out there and that there's a rational, explanation for everything that happens. And I actually kind of enjoy hearing their take on some things, like, some of the casts that we find, that don't look as good as some of the others, but we feel confident about our tracking ability, and, just kind of going back and forth on things like that, or like, another big thing is stick structures. A skeptical is always going to be like, it's wind damage, or, a hunter could have did that, out here hunting or something, so we use it as a tool, as an investigative tool, and we do value the opinion and look forward to skeptics coming out with us. It's a refreshing look and a new take on things. It's kind of like an out of the box thinking for people that have had personal experiences and automatically want to assume everything is a Bigfoot, and
right.
You can't do that if you want to be taken seriously.
Absolutely.
One of our team members' wife is a scientist, and she works in waterway data with us and does the BFRO sightings and connects these with patterns that we're looking for. And she's totally skeptic, but she happened to be there a couple of times, and I think she's leaning way more to thinking it's a real deal after seeing these tracks. It's a different track than to see a trackway. That then you have multiple things to look at, from stride to patterns, angles, et cetera. But she's worked on, like I said, these patterns, and a scientist wants it to basically grab you by the throat, face to face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely leaning.
Absolutely. Shaky, were you about to say something a little while ago? I didn't want to cut you off now. Shaky.
That's something that a maintain picture. You talking about people research. I'm the kind of person when I find something, I have to rule out everything and anything possible even before I can think of it being a Bigfoot. Just what I mean. I've got to get everything out of my mind before I can explain what it or can explain what it is.
Right. You got to.
For that too.
I know you tear it apart. I like your. I like some of the comments you made last week on thinking about different types of this Sasquatch. That there's probably some smart ones and there's not so smart, and that's how people have encounters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
true.
It's somebody had put a picture up last week of a shot, and I can't remember. I think it was either taken in Indiana, Illinois, or somewhere maybe. And what it was just kind of fur, long hair, fur in the thing. And people make comments, and I made a dumb comment. I wasn't thinking. I said, well, it seems to me it's hair, not fur. But then I got thinking, what the hell fur is? Fur is hair. So how can you think about covered in fur? Well, all fur is thick hair, so of course they're covered in fur. But it's just people don't and I've seen arguments over the dumbest things like that. No, that's not a Bigfoot. It's not covered in hair. It's covered in, that's fur, not hair. What the hell?
Yeah.
Now, I know down in Florida you guys refer to the Bigfoot subject down there as a skunk ape. And, it's funny, probably Alan was answering, with the name skunk ape, it's probably answering the question I'm about to ask. But Bigfoot, skunk ape, everyone has their own opinion or belief in what it is. But, what do you guys believe Bigfoot is, as far as what type of species do you believe it's related to, or is?
I believe it's a living, breathing creature. I think it is probably the missing link between ape and human. I'm not sure if I believe more. It's kind of like a Neanderthal human hybrid or something of that nature. I don't know. It's kind of just a toss up of is it more human or is it more ape? I'm not sure which one it is, but I'm convinced that they're real, and nobody will ever know until it's proven. And whatever it is, it's fascinating. It's fascinating, and it's the thrill. That's what keeps you going. What is that thing? I've got to know.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
That's just how I look at it on that one.
Well, before I make a statement on regarding that. Now, as far as vocalizations and what kind of vocalizations you guys experience down there?
Now we experience howls. Howls. Yep, we hear whistles sometimes, and every now and then you can hear what sounds like a scream.
Okay.
We hear that. I think that they're all the same species. You know, and I can explain that. Like, I think the species of Bigfoot that's in Washington, you know, the Pacific Northwest, is the same species that's down here. Now, I think that climate and all that plays a part on the sizes of these things, because if you look at the animals, like take deer for example. If you look at a white-tailed deer down here, you know, it's a running joke that Florida doesn't have deer. We got skinny dogs, you know, because our deer are so much smaller down here than they are up north, you know, or in the Pacific Northwest. You know, you've got some and they have to have all that mass to be able to survive that winter. They've got to, you know, they've got to bulk up or else they would die. Now, down here in Florida, where it's super duper hot and it's super humid every day, all that excess body weight is not needed. It will get you killed down here. You will overheat. You will dehydrate. It's no good. It's not going to help you down here. You're gonna have, you know, during the heat of the day in the summertime down here, a lot of the animals don't move at all. You know, they move. They come out in the cooler parts of in the morning and in the dusk, and they sleep out that part of the day. But I do believe that they're the same species. They're just the only thing that's made them different is the geographical location, the climate, and everything that I think has a direct effect on the animal sizes.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. They're pretty much well adapted to their environment and the atmosphere, you know. Yeah, you know, like I know in different parts of our country here, you know, as far as based off of stories, reports, I know up and down the East Coast here, you hear them ranging from 6 foot, you know, some I've heard up to 10 foot, you know, but yeah, I think the most average here on the East Coast is usually roughly maybe 7 to 8 foot to be, you know, if that's, you know, safe to say. But, you know, then of course they say they're much bigger on the West Coast as far as quoting the reports. But, you know, then again, I guess, you know, it goes back to what you were saying, you know. I mean, here in Virginia, you know, we're in the middle, I guess, you know, I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I grew up here in Virginia since I was 11. So, you know, I think, you know, depends on where they're at. Yeah, they're adapted to that location. But, you know, here in Virginia, we on the most part, we get to experience all the seasons, you know. Last year, we had a very mild winter. I was camping all year long last year. Even in December, it was warm. I'm hoping this year is different. Yeah, right now it's feeling different. It feels like everything should be normal. We're finally getting that cooler weather kicking in, you know, which is good. You know, hopefully it's good for the deer hunting, you know. But yeah, you know, like you were, you know, also comparing the deer for size, which to me that makes a lot of sense because, you know, here in Virginia we got some beautiful deer here, but don't get me wrong, you're gonna see them in the 200-300 pounds, and people find that hard to believe. You know, if you go up to Pennsylvania, even in Massachusetts, you know, deer, yeah, they're in the 250s, almost 300s up there. People are like, impossible. Oh yeah, they're up there. They're that big.
They got to be some big old monsters up there.
Oh yeah,
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Let me ask you this question, and I'm gonna try to how to word it. I do watch that show. Can't find SQUATCH. Because they can't find SQUATCH. They can't find shit. Anyway, finding Bigfoot. They had a thing on there. They had a thing on there with the person that got some really good pictures down there in the Everglades. If you know what I'm talking about, I think it was a father and son. And I'm not talking about Stacy with the nighttime. I'm talking about during the day. They actually got some nice photos of this thing out in the grass.
Yeah,
they said they had found a pile of hawk bones out there. Now that to me could also be alligator, maybe, I don't know. What do you think of that? Have you ever checked into that or down there near where that happened? Or
are you talking about?
No, I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with that photo. Stevie, have you seen that photo?
Are you talking about the David Shealy photo?
I know what.
Guys were driving down the road. And people watching this thing on the side of the road, and he stopped and actually took some real nice pictures of this thing. Now I'm not talking about the guy that's the guy that sits in the deer stands out there, nothing like that. I'm talking about these guys were going down the road, and the people were actually sitting on the side of the road watching this thing walk.
Yeah.
And the guy, they parked the car and they actually got out with the camera and got some pretty decent photos of it.
Oh, you're talking about down there in Mayaca, Stevie, he's talking about my app.
Maybe.
Oh.
I don't know.
Okay, that might be it. Yeah, the subject was in a field, but which a field I think it becomes marshy during certain times of year.
Yeah.
We actually went down there and investigated that and found some tracks out there in that grass, and it was pretty awesome out there. I know there's been a couple investigations over there. I actually wasn't able to go on some of those because I had to work. But I remember exactly what you're talking about now. I remember it was right there at a park. And there was over 4 or 5 cars that were parked up there, and everybody was out there taking pictures of that thing. It was more than just one person that saw that. It was like a group. I'd hate to even use the word mass sighting, but I mean, I know it was more than 4 or 5 pictures of it in that video. That was really cool. And I did get to go and do an original investigation on that, where we actually came out with a video on on that. And we were able to find some tracks down there. And I know that the guys went down there for some follow-up investigations. And what was weird about that, when we were down there investigating that, the rangers at that park, they were not very friendly at all. I mean, they knew what we were down there doing. We weren't hiding it, and we would park our cars and try to go investigate an area. We would come back and we would find notes on our car. You can't park here. You have to move your car or it'll be towed. And we were doing all kinds of things like that, playing, tag back and forth with the vehicles. They were just they didn't want us there. They obviously didn't want us there. And that was one of the craziest investigations that I ever did, because of how, because where we go to other spots, where we go on public land, and we go in there with the park rangers know us, and we're friends with them. We go up and we talk to them. They know what we're there for. They like it, whether they believe in it or not. They're friendly, they're cordial. But these guys down there in Mayaca, they were not that way at all. It was actually got to where we were like, well, why are these guys trying to run us out of here? Why are they being such dicks? We couldn't understand why. We weren't down there being loud or anything. We were obeying all the rules, and we do that. We try to be stewards of the parks that we go to when we go there, so we can always go back.
Right.
And this was one of those places that it seemed like no matter what we tried to do, we were always getting pushed around by these guys, and it gave us the feeling that they didn't want us down there. And that was we all thought that was pretty weird. So they're not very friendly down there in that park. If you ever go down there and investigate, just be aware that the rangers are not going to be on your side.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Multiple investigation on there, and
there's a lot of stuff going on there.
There was something that was encountered. I mean, there was pictures taken, but it was so close. It was I and Bill Brock, and Stacy, and a couple others, 5 of us. And it was caught on a thermal, but that was run by one of the outsiders who never was running it on record. But
oh, man.
I could see it. It was against a tree. I whispered in Bill's ear and said, hey, check my fingernails and teeth, because I'll get some DNA. Not even thinking anything. But we were in a kind of a group where we were all 50 yards apart, trying to. What exactly happened was earlier, the pigs came out of the woods, heading towards us. We're like scattering, because you know how pigs, they'll come get you. They ran past us. Like they were going to drown themselves. We're putting on the parabolics, hear this thing back there, go back there, and 50 yards apart in pairs. And Stacy was all at the very end by himself, saw this thermal image. So when I walked up to it, it booked. I mean, it just was like through the woods, went past Josh and Emmett. They had the thermals, clicked it. It was so close, all you could see was white. That's how close. Went through them, went past Stacy. Stacy went after it. Could say it was a SQUATCH Skunk Ape. We didn't have the most impressive was the thermal that somebody that was invited. But I mean, it was unbelievable. It changed my life for a little bit. But we guesstimated, we found lots of tracks, and there was also pigs. We found with heads twisted off, and certain organs, which is really bizarre because it's so way back there. I mean, if you're a poacher, you're going to take the meat. If you're a trophy hunter, you take the head. Twist it off. What twists a head off?
Right.
Yeah.
Bears, Florida bears, no. I've lived there most of my life, more than half a century. So it was an interesting story, to say the least.
Right.
I was going to grab a wild pig anyway, man. Them pigs will tear you a new one.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, they will. They get them cutters on there, man. They'll slice you up, Florida.
Yeah.
We guesstimated 6'8". Now, if you look, some people talk about the Florida skunk ape. It's smaller than you were talking about, East Coast or, say, the Pacific Northwest or something. But if you look at Stacy Brown Sr.'s, if you're familiar with the thermal and Cliff Berkman analysis, you're talking 4 inches, give or take, a couple. So that's a big, big creature.
Yeah. Yeah. I know here. Oh, I'm sorry. It sounded like everyone went blank. I thought there was a problem. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, basically, all I got is really stories because, what I've experienced and what me and my other, there's others experienced it with me. All we could do is just speak about it. And, we've had encounters, and we believe without doubt, till this day, what we were observing was a family of 3, because there was definitely a juvenile involved and 2 other subjects.
Wow.
One around 7 to 8 foot. Now, this took place after midnight. Now, this was back in 2014. It was one of our expeditions. And in one of my main research areas, to make a long story short, after being spread out around the lake, listening with our parabolic mics, we actually gathered some vocalizations from that. But after regrouping, we had about a mile, hike back to the camp. Well, when we got so far back up the road, like I said, this happened exactly at approximately 12:30 a.m. And, walking up the road, we were talking normal tone, just weren't trying to be quiet. We were just talking and, seeing a deer on the one side of the road. And then when we got up to, I was in the front of everybody. I didn't know what I was seeing at first. My headlamp was reflecting off of something. I was like, what in the world is that? And see, keep in mind, this is national forest. And in national forest, you have these little yellow signs, sometimes on trees. Basically, they're letting you know no vehicles will be on this point, blah, blah, blah. Well, the way I was looking at it, that's what I thought it was till I got more of a focus on it and noticed the large yellow amber looking, object that I was looking at were 2 things I was looking at. And I was staring at it. I was kind of hypnotized by it. And next it blinked at me. I was like, what? I called my buddy Tracy that was right behind me. I said, Tracy, we got eye shine. We got eye shine. What is that? And because it was much lower than we were and off the road a little ways, I thought, I don't know, the first crazy thing I thought it was I said, is that a mountain lion? And, I don't know, it's just weird thoughts started running through my head. I was like, is that a mountain lion? Because all we saw was the eye shine. I didn't see no body, no silhouette, not at that point anyway. But whatever it was, apparently ran off. And we got up to the area, and we saw it again. The subject was probably about 4 or 5 feet tall because we got a good look at that. And the small subject was kind of swaying back and forth, side to side. I was like, what the heck? And then we couldn't help but notice right, as we're looking at it, to the right of it, probably about 6 or 7 feet, there was another subject we saw. And the eye shine was standing around 7 foot tall, at least. And it was, it's like, I don't know, we were kind of, I guess you could say excited, mesmerized, but it got more exciting because that subject was blinking his eyes. Now keep in mind, all we were seeing is strictly eye shine. But the smaller subject, you could see what it was doing from the way the eyes. It was still doing this swaying, bobbing around kind of thing. Excuse me. Now,
what color eyes?
They were very large, and they were yellowish, like a yellow amber. Yeah, I wouldn't say red. A lot of people say red.
Wow.
These were definitely not red. They were like amber, or more like a yellowish color. Yellowish with a slight amber tint to it. Now, not long after we were observing that, I don't know if I was the only one that noticed it right away, but I said, "There's another one." The other one was behind the bushes by the tree, and you could see it slowly, like it was like as if it was crouched down, and it was standing up, and it was turning to the side facing us. And that subject was over at least a good foot or so taller than the one that I estimated 7 foot. Now, that one there, this is what got exciting. We were actually just ahead of it, we were able to make out a silhouette of the head. It was not a bear. Wow. It was most definitely not a bear. And out of that subject there, you could see head movement. It turned its head. It looked, blinked its eyes, and little bit of movement. It was very, it moved a couple feet and then it stopped. And the two tall subjects were just standing there looking, blinking their eyes, not making no sound. The small subject, which we believe was possibly a juvenile, was definitely moving around. I don't know, kind of, I guess you could say doing what a kid does, just kind of anxious, kind of moving around, not knowing what to think. And now, at this whole time, one of the other guys that was with us, Cliff Stanley, I did not know he was videotaping this the whole time. Now, for the record, the disappointing part was when I found out he recorded it, I watched it, did not pick up nothing that we saw. Nothing. Wow. All you could see our behavior. We were acting excited. We were even trying to whoop at it, trying to make sounds. I don't know. We just got carried away with ourselves. It was so exciting because, we didn't think nothing else. We couldn't think of nothing else. You could hear us in the video say, "Guys, I think we got squatches right here." I mean, I didn't know what else. We didn't know what else to think. They were too big to be anything else in that area, So eventually, well, I'm actually kind of getting to that. That's funny that you bring that up. Well, two of us had night vision in our backpacks, but all right, after the subject kind of like faded off, went back into the woods, we decided we started walking. We continued to work our way back towards camp. And at a couple points, you could hear some snapping of limbs. You could hear like something was still moving in the woods, but getting further and further away. Well, we made around the corner and got close to the camp, and we were talking about it. We couldn't shut up about what we were seeing. Got back to camp, started a fire. Here it is, a little after 1 now. We got back to camp, and we got to talk. We were actually trying to debunk what were we seeing. I was naming every animal that I know that I know for a fact that is in that area. There's no way it could have been any of them. Like again, we were naming everything. Could have been this. Well, I was like, could it have been this? So before I get to the other part, me and Tracy Arnold were the only two that had night vision. We had real good night vision in our backpacks. Not once did we think about pulling them out. We never did pull them out.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, we were definitely kicking ourselves in the butt for this one. Not once did we think about pulling it out.
We've been there for sure. We've been there and done that, a couple times. Always seems to happen like that, or it seems like you'll get activity whenever you're pulling it out of the backpack, or like whenever you're having to change batteries or something. That's when it seems like something will happen.
Right.
In my experience, anyway.
Well, that's how I feel like if I'm by myself, I'm in the woods exploring. Lately I try to keep my camera out and turned on just in case something was to happen. Most of the time I have it put away, and so I'm not constantly carrying something, because sometimes I go up hills and odd terrain and don't want to drop it and break it, and so I was like, man, something's gonna happen and I'm not gonna be ready. That's the thought that always runs through my mind. So I do try to carry a GoPro on my backpack, on my rucksack. So, I mean, but I don't always do that either. But yeah, the next day we went back. We tried to do a height comparison in the daytime at that very same spot. Because till this day, I have that that location marked. And but yeah, we gone back, and I'm about 6 foot tall. Stanley, he's about maybe an inch or two taller than me. But we went back and we did a height comparison. I raised my hand all the way up. I got behind the bushes. The bushes were over 5.5, foot tall, and we got behind them. And there was a few trees in that area, but I put my hand all the way up. Tracy was up on the road. He said, "Yeah, that was over my top of my hand." I said, "That was over 8 foot."
Wow.
Yeah. The one thing we didn't realize that time at night where we were standing, and from where where the subjects, it actually dropped down a good 5-6 feet or so. The edge of the road sloped down till it leveled off. And we weren't, at that time, we were not fully aware of all that. So, yeah, so that was, I don't know, it was very exciting. And till this day, I keep thinking about that. I was like, it had to been. It had to be. And that was just one incident that happened out there. There's been several other activities, other things that happened in there. I could go on. I got a list of things. I've had things happen to me at nighttime when I was camping there in that same neck of the woods right there. So, but
now,
I don't want to.
Stuff that happens, the stuff that you're having happen to you in that same area. Is it like happening on a full moon, or did you notice, or is there like any type of similarities between either the climate or anything like that within this area of when you are having activity?
Well, it's funny that yes,
whether it's a full moon or not, or
now as far as the full moon, I can't say yes or no on that. But the time of the years, I could tell you exactly when it happens, the time of year, and it seems. I mean, there's little things that happen throughout the year, but the most active is early spring, around May, because this is usually when I plan my expeditions in that area, either the month of May or the month of September, because when it starts getting cooler, the cooler temperature, like you were mentioning, and I've said this before to other people. Yeah, it's the cooler weather where you get more activity. They start moving around, just like the bears do up here. The bears get very crazy, uprooting trees and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But, I share a lot of information, everything I find or experiences with my father. Back in September, we had one of our expeditions out there. And my father, I'm glad he was able to join us. And, he came up there and we were having a slow night. Nothing was really happening. We weren't really hearing nothing. But it happened that one night where he decided to go in his tent. And we were sitting around the campfire. It was very calm, no wind, nothing. Barely heard the night bugs. This was after 10 o'clock at night. But he was in it. He went to lay down, tried to, start to get some sleep, but, he had trouble sleeping. But he was only in there for probably 10, 15 minutes at the most. And then from out of nowhere, in that same area, right, because our camp, this one camp that's in, directly across from that set of woods where everything I've ever experienced happened, we're sitting there, and from out of nowhere, it sounded like somebody took a Louisville slugger. It swung at a tree with full force. It was probably about maybe 50 yards, if that, just across from camp. And we kind of like, all of us stood up on our feet. My father came out of his tent. He's like, I heard that. I looked at him.
That's awesome.
I was like, see, Dad, you think these are just stories I'm telling you. Things out here really happen. I get tree knocks, during the daytime. I've gotten responses from tree knocks. So, but I was glad that was just a little piece he got to experience. So, so I'm glad that happened with him. But, we've heard prior to that night, we've heard other, we heard distant vocalizations. We heard movement around the camp, which got interesting. I pulled out my FLIR. My FLIRs ain't nowhere as high tech or sophisticated as what you guys have. I mean, my FLIR is the FLIR 1 for my mobile phone. That's all I have. But I did pull it out and I scanned around. I did not pick nothing up whatsoever. The only thing I ever got off of Fleur was a couple deer before, but that's about it, and a rabbit. That's about it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a very active area. They're most definitely in there, and it seems like they stay in that area. They come to the lower ground because right behind that goes up to a ridge. It seems like they stay on the high ground and they work their way to the lower ground in the evenings. And that area, I believe, is part of their hunting grounds because that area is flooded with deer. They got the creek, stream, and the river connection to the stream out there. So I mean, everything you could think of. All the there's plenty of habitat, plenty of food sources. For all the known animals out there. So, yeah. Now I do have a couple questions that popped up here on Facebook for you.
Okay.
First question here is: has your group worked with any other Florida research group?
Well, we've had somebody from excuse me, the ISRT group has come out with us before. We've had a couple people. I don't want to say the name of the group wrong, but we've had a couple people out from different groups, and we welcome that. We welcome anybody that wants to come out with us on an outing. Just private message me or the Facebook page, Apalachiacola Skunk Ape Project Facebook page. Just message us on that, and we will set something out to go out with a fellow researcher or any other group that wants to go and maybe have a discussion and talk about things. We're definitely open to that, and we wouldn't turn anybody away. That's for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, when we did the Mayaca thing, when it was going crazy, there was an open invitation by Stacy and I believe, let's see, like Tim Fasano even showed up. Let me see.
Yeah, I remember that.
So Brock came he came down from where he's at.
Yeah,
Maine.
Robert Robinson, as a matter of fact. He's with Legend Trippers, and he's awesome. That's a different group, and he comes out with us a lot. Him and his wife Tracy, and he's been out with us on more than one occasion. He comes out with us quite frequently. He lives here in Florida himself, and just anybody can come out with us who wants to. Just let us know, and that you're interested, and we'll certainly let you know the dates and the location of where we're going to be. And whoever wants to go is more than welcome to come.
Awesome.
You hear that shit?
Who what?
Hear that shit?
You ain't like the BFRO, do you? They got to pay the $300, $500 or nothing like that.
Oh no, it's nothing like that. This is just, hey, if we're going out and people are coming with us, then once we get to a certain number of people, then that's when we close the doors. But we've not, we don't charge, like the BFRO or anything like that. We don't even charge at all.
Camping fees.
I think, yeah, there was one expedition where I think we charged something, but I think it was for batteries or something for an extended stay out in the woods, or to buy like some food for everybody or something like that. It wasn't like a charge. It was.
It wasn't $500 charge.
No. It was like, hey, what you want to eat tonight? Pizza, okay, cool. Throw down $5 or something like that. But we've not ever charged anybody. It's going to cost you X amount of dollars to go out with us. It's never been that way with us.
The only problem I have with Florida is I'm scared of snakes, and everything in Florida that moves is poisonous.
Oh, it is.
I'm just scared of that.
It is. No, hey, no, yeah, hey, I agree with you there. Just the last weekend. We saw a copperhead. The copperheads are out down here right now, and I mean those things are hard to see when they are.
Yes, they are.
And everything.
I killed one.
Oh, man.
I killed one 2 days ago here.
No way.
Oh wow, those things are so camouflaged.
I had to put the 40 Glock in them.
Oh man.
I've almost stepped on them.
Yeah. We had a rattlesnake around the campfire one time, and it was actually, we were eating it, and I was surprised at how good it was. It's a lot of work, not a lot of meat, you know what I mean, because the bones are so bony. But I was amazed at how delicious that thing was. It was very, very good.
Copperhead's the same thing. Copperhead's the same
I've never
thing.
eaten a copperhead, but
we got rattlesnakes
I may
here,
have
too.
to. Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, those copperheads are super camouflaged. I usually try to wear my snake boots when we go out. You know, sometimes you don't, but most of the time I try to keep them on.
It is your number one piece.
All right, we actually have a couple more questions that popped up here, and the other question from these questions are from Miss Nikki Colin. She's this is on Facebook. She's also asking, being from Florida, have you ever heard of the Central Florida Bigfoot / Skunk Ape Research Habituation Site?
No, just the one that we work. I haven't heard of any other ones, or no one's come forward and said that they're having continuous activity. The only one that I know is up going to be in the Panhandle. I haven't heard of any other habituation sites. Now, there's a lot of reports. I got a report not long ago from Lake County, and apparently there's an area or some lake over there that is scaring a lot of hunters. Hunters that have been hunters for a long time are actually going out to their tree stands and getting spooked by strange noises and actually walking out of the woods and saying, okay, I'm not going to hunt, today. I think I'd rather, go home and watch some football or something. And for some of the yahoos that live down here in Florida, that's saying a lot, to some of those hunters. And that's an area where I kind of want to go. That's not near the Apalachiacola River, but I wouldn't mind going out there and checking that out, because I think that would be worth a drive out there. I thought that was pretty exciting. I just got that day before yesterday from someone down near Lake County. There's a lake down there, and it's called Lake Tracy, and a lot of activity is getting reported from down around that way.
Awesome.
But it's strange because, like you were saying, you get more activity different times of the year and stuff, and that holds true, down here too, to a certain extent. But it seems like down here in Florida, over there near the Apalachiacola River, the main time for activity, of course, the habituation site has it all year round. But the general, consensus for that is that, they're there in the fall, and it seems like, down south in Mayaca and Central Florida, they're more active in the springtime, and that's something that we've noticed over the years. And I thought that was pretty interesting that, you were basing some of those same, the activity off of the cooler weather. So I just wanted to tell you, we kind of left that subject, but I wanted to tell you I agree with that 100% because it holds true down here too.
Awesome. That's good to know. Yeah. Sometimes you wonder how it is. It depends how observant others are in their area that they're trying to investigate or research as well. What the activities like there. Wherever that might be. Yeah, I've gotten numerous reports of the surrounding area. Just in the valley where I'm at. But as far as a hunter goes, one in particular I could recall. It wasn't that long ago he shared the report. He was actually a gentleman replacing the tile in the kitchen and dining room, and his story would happen 20 years ago. He was, where his report took place was only about 20 maybe between 20 and 25 minutes away. Excuse me, and he was in his tree stand, and it sounds similar to what you were saying. His son was so far off, but between wherever him and his son were, they were hearing all this weird noise, little screams. They heard a lot of whooping type sounds. And at one point, he said he heard the trees and the bushes ruffling. And next he said the subject had been a good 10 feet tall is what he estimated. He said he was up in his tree stand. He never saw the face. It came out of the bushes and turned off and walked away. All he saw was the back end of it. He said it was bigger than any football player he's ever seen. And it was dark brown, broad shoulders, so, there's a possibility from what he was sharing as far as the vocalizations, the sounds, there may have been more right in the area, but, he only saw that one subject, which sounded like a big boy, but he was like, he was in his tree stand when he saw that. So that was interesting. But yeah, of the reports of the surrounding area, they kind of stunned me. Something, it's like, man, some of them ain't that long ago. Some of them are older. I've had things. I've actually the most recent one, which I was sharing about my one of my fellow researchers. He's a skeptic. The one I was telling you about earlier. Now, this new location, I'm actually, kind of focusing on. Not far from this one. All right, it's kind of hard to explain. There's a location just a few miles, from this area where I've camped at before with my researcher Greg Corbin from Virginia Beach, and there's things that happen there from on campers where campers were getting their campers pushed or shoved, or slapped on, banged on, whatever you want to call it, in the early mornings, waking the people up, and no one could explain what it was, and but at the camp location where me and Greg camped at, we found deer kills with twisted bones and everything else not far, from that camp spot. Now, behind the camp, Greg's son spotted a track. And then we went to go check it out. We investigated. We ended up finding a whole trackway right there behind camp. But the tracks were leading out towards where our tents were. Now, judging from the tracks and what we observed, they weren't entirely too fresh, but they were good enough to be made out very clearly. I actually posted a picture of this a while back. This was just this past year. And, what I did to mark the tracks to show for the picture, I took dry plaster. I took the powder and sprinkled the tracks to show, the pattern, the way they were stepping. There were, if I remember correctly, I think it was about a 58-inch stride on the one that I did measure. And now after sharing this information and with my buddy Richard, who actually taught me or introduced me to this location, he asked me where I was camped at. I described exactly where I was at because when you get in, when you drive so far in off the dirt road, you come to a location where there's a gate, the forest road gate. And sometimes, certain times of the year, it's closed. You got to walk in on foot if you want to go into the lake and everything else. So I told him exactly where we were at, and he knew exactly what I meant. I said we were right there. As soon as you walk down the road, around the corner, just you got the field right there, and the camp spot we were at. There's like a outhouse by the stream that it looks like somebody put there. It wasn't from the state. He knew exactly what I was talking about. He said, you're in the same exact spot as where the campers got, where that happened to the campers. And actually, he was actually referring to himself. It was actually him and his wife that happened to about a couple of years ago. I was like, really? I said, are you sure that's the spot? He said, yeah, that old red beaten down wooden outhouse that's built back there. I said, yeah. I said, that's where we were camping at. He said, that's the same spot. I said, I shared him the information. Well, he's been telling me about this other location, that's not far from there. Because according to Google Maps, it's probably about 5 miles. But this new location that I'm focusing on is about 5 miles west from that location. Well, it's funny. I've been gathering other reports. People, when they find out who I am, people are pulling out their phones, showing me pictures of tracks and this and that. And I was like, where is this at? Where did this happen? They're telling me, do you know where such and such is? I was like, yeah. It's right there off that road right there. I was like, are you serious? Wow. Everything's happening. All these different people are showing me pictures off their phone. I had a group of young hunters show me a trackway, very large tracks in the snow, And then I had this guy I work with, when he was wondering why people call me Sasquatch at work, And I told him straight out, my decals on my blazer, you can't hide that, it speaks for itself, So he pulled out his phone. He said, hey, I found this about, I forget how low. I think he said that was just a year ago. He said, I was up there off that road up there. And he had his foot next to a track. I was like, wow, that's a nice looking track. Well, just a couple of months ago, before I started camping and learning about the spot, my buddy Richard took me there. But what happened, some information he shared with me was he was in the location he was camping there, and it's very quiet. He calls it Whispering Hollow. He calls it Whispering Hollow. Because part of it, hearing the sounds and what sounds like there's voices around there, he believes that's associated with the power lines, because there's a big power line, that runs from all the way through there. He's directly underneath the power lines, because there's nothing but woods on top of forest and forest and forest, and it goes for miles. And the one spot he camps at is, he was sitting there just sitting relaxing, and then he had a couple come by camp. They rode their car down to his camp. Apparently they just got done. They just packed up and left their location. And I guess what they were coming to tell him, I guess they felt like they had to warn him. Because what happened with them, they were less than a quarter of a mile away camping, less than a quarter of a mile, almost directly from camp. From if you head out of the camp spot where he was at, you drive through the rough road into the woods the other way. That's where they had experience up there. They had these large rocks thrown into their camp, and they heard a scream that they could not, that I guess scared the crap out of them. These are large rocks, so as far as they know, there was no one else around in the area, and they didn't know who Richard was. Richard don't advertise. He doesn't put himself out there like I do. Well, Richard felt it was necessary to go investigate. After they left, he went into the spot, and actually, let me recall. I believe they showed him the direct spot, and he said he had to climb a little bit of a hill, from according to where the direction of the rocks came from, and he got up to the top where it leveled out, and he was looking around. He saw stones on the ground, Then he said he happened to come across a location where a spot where the stones were moved away from. Actually completely missing. If you take a stone out of the ground that's been there for a while, you got an indentation or, imprint.
Right.
Well, these stones were gone. You could see where the stones were actually missing from that spot. Well,
wow.
He got to thinking. He looked around. He tried to look for tracks, but he didn't see no tracks. I guess because of the ground, the terrain, it didn't produce any tracks. But he said, Daniel, after being up there a few minutes, he said, "You ain't going to believe what I heard while I was up there." I said, "Please tell me." He said, "Daniel, it sounded like a frickin' monkey." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "It screamed." There was a scream. It sounds like what a monkey sounds like when they scream. I said, "Are you serious?"
Wow.
Yeah. He said it wasn't close, but it wasn't far either. So,
oh man, I know those screams can be intense. So I had a similar something happen to me, and it was my first encounter that got me turned on to the whole I need to figure out what that is craze. I was actually out hunting and heard some screams that changed my mind real quick as to what all I was sure that could be out there in the woods. So I know how it can be. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, that's like I got a buddy of mine. He's been out with me, once or twice. What got him in? He said what got him involved with, the interest of Bigfoot and wanting to get involved with looking for stuff. He was out hunting. Here's a guy. He's probably in his early to mid 40s. He's our Iraqi veteran. And but he said he was out hunting with a buddy of his in this one particular location. And on the one side of them, walking up the trail into the woods, it kind of went straight uphill over in an embankment. But they're walking along, and from out of nowhere, these large stones come flying down. And he was like, wow. He was stopped in his tracks. He said, "That wasn't no bear. A bear ain't gonna throw no stones." So
yeah.
Yeah, because when he told me that, I said, "Well, what was running through your mind?" I can't really recall exactly what his words were, but. He said, Bigfoot came across my mind. I said, "Really, Bigfoot? You really thought Bigfoot at that time?" He says, "Actually, yeah, because you hear things and stories and stuff, but you never really consider anything, So yeah, he said right. Bigfoot actually crossed his mind when those stones came down. He says it's the only thing he could think of that would be doing that out where he was, So I said, well, that's pretty interesting, But
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you heard the audio on the Apalachiacola?
Yeah, There should be some audio. We did come out with some audio. We just put it out not long ago, but there's what sounds like breathing on the audio, and it's pretty. It's something. It came up close to the recorder that we left out in that site, and it sounds like breathing. That's what it sounds like to us, And it's out there. It's on our page, Apalachiacola Skunk Ape Project. I can't remember when we came out with that.
Somebody, I don't know if it was you, Stevie. Somebody shared some audio with me not long ago, and I listened to it.
Yeah, it was the link. To the...
that was you, Steve. Okay, I did listen to that. Let me tell you what. I might be able to play that on here. I'm gonna go through my phone. Pull it up through my phone.
We're talking like 10,000 watts, wall of shade. That thing, man, you will. It'll make the nose hairs curl.
Let me scroll through here real quick. Like I said, I might be able to play that. I don't know how it'll sound from my phone through my microphone on my mouthpiece here, because I'm on a regular headset. Okay. Give me a second here. All right, hold on. It's pulling up on their YouTube here, so hold on. All right, here it is. Here, I'm gonna try to play it. Hopefully you guys can hear it. Hold on. Is it playing? Yeah, here it is. I don't know if that did any justice hearing it through the phone. I don't know if you guys did it sound okay through the? Because I played it through my phone.
I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, and
did
I don't
you hear
think
it,
that's
Stevie?
the one. Yeah, I could hear
this
it.
One,
that's not the one, I don't think.
Oh, okay. Because this one here is the one.
Apalachiacola should be in there on that page.
Yeah, because this one is a link that you sent me. It's the Apalachiacola Skunk Ape Project, Skunk Ape Breathing with a question mark.
Oh, okay. Then that's it. It just sounded weird.
Yeah, you probably. Yeah, it's just on the phone. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It probably didn't sound right through the phone, going through my microphone.
Movie.
Excuse me?
Sounded like a Star Wars movie.
I did. I thought I heard something on there. It sounded like R2D or RTD2 or whatever his name is. It sounded like him on there.
Oh, the dude.
I was like, wow.
I mean, the way it sounded to me sounded like. It did sound like breathing to me personally. I mean, but in the background, I was hearing something. It sounded like what are the other night screams out there? Like I heard, what are your common night sounds out there?
Oh God.
Well, when that audio was recorded, that other sound, if I'm not mistaken, it's like it's a coon or something out there, and it was screaming bloody murder.
Yeah, because I heard that in that.
Yeah, something was hurting that coon or that small animal. Something was toying with it or killing it or something. And then something is a lot closer to that recorder, and that's the breathing that we got. Now, whether it's the two creatures that we've been finding the tracks of out there, I don't know. But I do know that we took that same approach. That audio recording was recorded the same day that we found those tracks out there. And we spent all day long out there in that area looking for tracks, looking for everything, any type of evidence that we could collect. And we stayed out there well into the night. And that we actually had a large group of people out there helping look for tracks and everything. And we made the decision, Stacy and I, it was time to pull people out of there because we wanted to take the same mindset. Okay, now we've been here, we've had these people in this area. It's time to back out of here before we do more harm than good. and we'll go back to camp, because we weren't even camping on that property that night. We were just going to let whatever was going to happen out there, let it happen, let it have free reign. We did not want to scare anything off. And a tape recorder inadvertently had gotten left at this area, and I'm glad that it did, because we didn't even realize that we had a tape recorder left out over there until that next morning. And then we went and got it, and then found out what was on there, and we're tickled pink with the results.
That is awesome.
So we still feel that not putting too much pressure on these things is paying off. So that's the angle that we're going to try to continue to take from here on out over there in that area.
Huh. Here's another question. This is coming from Mr. David Parker. He's asking, he wants to know how big adult males run, and as far as how big are the adult males and how much facial hair do they have?
Until I can see one close up, it's just all going to be 100% speculation part.
Right.
I think that and you kind of mentioned it earlier, and I agree with it 100%. That kind of the standard size is going to be about 7.5 feet tall.
Right.
I do think that they're going to be quite a bit lankier over here in Florida, more like a basketball player than, let's say, a football player or a prize fighter, because of the heat. And I think that there'll be a weight difference. As far as facial hair, I mean, I wouldn't even begin to know. I can assume based off witness reports that I've either read or heard or taken. The general consensus, according to those, is that there's not a lot of hair on the face, around the eyes or the nose, from what I've heard. But like I said, that's 100% speculation until I can see one face to face. I can dream of what that face will look like. But based off of what I have heard and different reports and eyewitness reports and everything, that there's not a lot of hair on the face. And I've also heard reports that there's not a lot of hair on like the chest and like torso area. And to me, that kind of makes sense if they're tree climbers. If they're going to be climbing trees, then they're going to rub some hair off somewhere. I mean, that hair's got to come off. It's got to snag on something. And I think that, maybe on their butt, it might be a little bit thinner than if they're sitting on their butt, it's going to get thin from, sitting for so many years, here and there and everything. Just regular, it would be, thinner in certain spots that rub the trees when they climb it, or the stuff that has contact with the ground the most. I do believe that they have hair on their feet, maybe not the bottoms of their feet, but they have hair on the tops of their feet, I believe. And that is from finding hairs in trackways.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that is possible.
Yeah. I have yet to find any, any other hair that I can identify. I have collected hair and, being ignorant, not knowing what it was from the get-go. I mean, it was found on power line poles and stuff like that. At the time when I found it, I should have known better. But, it did look interesting because it was like reddish-brown, some blondish, but yet with black combined with it. And, for me, somebody who, observes and, researches and studies bears a lot, too, because they're so common up here, a lot of them, that's something I collected. And it's also an area where I've actually found tracks. But I actually sent it off to Jeff Melgen back when he was accepting, samples. And I never, for months had gone by, I never heard nothing from him. But when one of the local newspaper companies wanted to do, one of the local newspapers wanted to do a story, they did a story and report on, on the group. I shared that information, and I gave them names and everything else. Come to find out, the girl who did the story on me and everything, she actually was able to make contact with Dr. Jeff Meldrum. And it's funny, Jeff Meldrum actually gave her information. I was like, well, I wish he had let me know. That way I'm not sitting here scratching my head. I mean, but I had to find out through her, that, hey, it was black bear, I said, okay, that's cool. I mean, I mean, I wasn't going to be, I was going to be obsessing to whatever it was. I just wanted to know, I was curious because it was found associated with tracks. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean.
Well, yeah, anytime that you're in a situation like that, or anytime I find myself in a situation like that, collect the hair and have it tested, because if you don't, you're not doing your job as a researcher. That's for sure. Because you could think if the day that you don't collect that hair or send it off and get it tested, that'll be the day that was Sasquatch hair. That's how I see it. That's my luck right there. But if I go out there and I have that pattern down where I'm gonna collect it, and I'm gonna let the fur expert or the hair expert tell me what it is. I'm just going to make sure that he's there, that sample's there for him to test. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually now in my area, those hairs were collected, in a totally separate area. Now in my main research area, I've actually, came across hairs. Actually, my daughter was with me, and she actually pointed them out. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it was. And the one thing I noticed before kind of investigating the surrounding area, these hairs were much longer. These hairs were, a good 4 inches long in some of them, and they were completely black. And I was like, well, I got to thinking, Now, out in the middle of the woods on National Forest, where these hairs were found, they were actually found on barbed wire. Now, there's a fenced-in area out in the middle of the woods here in the National Forest. And I was like, what is this? Why is this out here? What is this doing? And there's a metal gate that's kind of like a farm gate, but then you got barbed wire that's over 8 foot tall. I'm curious, this is out in the middle of the woods, and it looks like it's chained up and locked. But the more I looked at the lock, and the chain, it's not even locked. I said, it's just wrapped around here. So I was like, I'm going to go check it out. But come to find out, it's just what the forestry do. They do experiments of, tree regrowth and watching the health of the trees and all this good stuff. So, but yeah, along the fence, you got barbed wire and you got cedar posting. After looking at the hair and looking at the cedar posts, I was like, okay, this is black bear hair, but it's much longer than what I'm, used to seeing on black bear, But so I mean, I got those hairs collected, and just for my own records. I'm not going to send them off because I know without doubt that they are black bear now. So they are interesting. So I mean, I do try to collect. I mean, I don't need to collect deer hair. I mean, deer hair is very evident. I could take my coat. I used to, I could take my coat and rub it in the leaves out in the woods and pick it up, and I could pull deer hair off of it. Just like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean. Yeah. Because I'm going through, I'm pulling off the leaves. I say, what the heck is this hair? I say, oh, a deer must have bedded here at one point, So,
absolutely.
I do stuff like that just to, kind of rub off my human scent, so, but, so, I didn't get that last year. I'm determined to get one this year.
Well, Dave has taught me a lot. I mean, it can be drain your wallet there if you send in hair and But
oh yeah, it's expensive.
Things from the
you got to be sure that's what you want getting tested, because it's that's an expensive process. That's for sure, to get it tested and get it done up right.
Right.
You're looking for certain things like no medulla, or I mean, David teaches me well. And Bigfoot doesn't have haircuts, so you're not looking for a tapered or untapered end. So, different things before you go ahead and empty that wallet, and it comes back bare. So.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to where we actually have group members that, without saying too much, that are identified with law enforcement, and they can actually look at some of these hairs, and then it's kind of like a preliminary viewing, and these guys are able to look at like scale pattern, the way that the scale pattern on your hairs are kind of like the shingles on your roof, and then the scale patterns that humans have is going to be different than the scale pattern that some other non-human is going to have. So and whether or not the hair has a medulla in it, he touched on that, and that's absolutely correct. And we have these guys that can kind of take a look at that and say, okay, now, this scale pattern seems a little, inconclusive, or it has me confused. And if one of those crime guys, if it raises a red flag there, that's a good indication that that's going to be a good candidate for further testing at one of the major universities around there that help us out.
Yeah. Just for the record, I wanted to let you guys know I pulled up one of my SoundCloud playlists. There's a couple of them, a couple of the sounds I have in there. It's my playlist I have labeled as Bigfoot evidence. But if you listen to it, I title each one what they are. You'll hear a few of them. They're known animals. I got barred owls. I got coyotes. And then I also have other things that I am labeling as unknown. Just this is from my main research area. You'll hear a couple of howls and everything. I definitely recommend on the howls, you definitely use headphones to hear the howls, because you could tell that they're distant from me leaving my audio recorder out there. You can hear how the pitch comes up and then it kind of goes down and it extends. And I got one that was probably right there around camp. I estimated, I believe it was around probably about between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, because usually when I set my recorders out, I do a time frame stamp on them. I was like, okay, it's such and such time. So, 10 o'clock, I'm setting this out, going to bed, and, so I'm able to estimate when I pick up audio. I say, okay, this happened at 2 o'clock, the 2 o'clock hour, or so forth. So, yeah, a lot of these, majority of my vocalizations happen between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Which I find very interesting. And everything came out of my main general research area, the one I've been...
That's exactly the time that it was that we got that recording off of the one that you just played. That was exactly what time it was. It was
wow.
2:30 and 3 in the morning.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's crazy. Yeah, it is. It is.
Awesome.
I wonder if that's when they're coming out, making their move, maybe going out getting some breakfast or something before the rush, so to speak.
Yeah, because it's like...
Something you said earlier, if you don't mind, something you said earlier has got my interest peaked a little bit, about how you got involved in this. Now, I could see Stevie Strings getting involved because he looked in the mirror and thought he saw Sasquatch, but anyway, actually, how did the both of y'all, how did y'all get involved into this back when you first did? What caused it?
Well, I was over in a wildlife management area hunting. I was hunting some pigs, just doing some hog hunting, not in a stand or anything, just kind of out there walking around enjoying myself type deal, and getting up on the trail and just sitting under an oak tree type blind. And I was out there sitting down, and I heard what sounded like a scream, and it sounded enough like a human scream to where I felt I needed to get up and go and help this person. It sounded like someone was definitely in need of some help. And I thought it was maybe some dude beating on his old lady way out in the woods.
No.
I'm not a fan of that, and I will do anything I can to put a stop to situations such as that. And
Absolutely.
I start heading towards this noise, and as I walk to the noise, it's like changing from a woman screaming to what you would see on like Nat Geo, two chimpanzees fighting or something like that is what it would sound like. And I've never looked for Bigfoot before then. I've seen stuff on TV, but never really watched anything or had any interest in it at all. It really never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm walking towards this sound, and it's getting louder and it's louder. And it is like obnoxiously loud. I could feel it in my chest. And I'm like on this weird, the highest state of alert that I've practically ever been in. I'm also, a veteran, and I've been to Iraq and different things. And this is the most alert that I have ever been. My ears were even perking up and like moving around like what a dog's would do. I've never been on that much of an edge. And I had to push myself to walk towards this sound. I have to tell myself in my head, okay, I'm the one with a gun. I know how to use it. I'm okay. Go and see what this is. You have to follow it through.
Right.
So I'm hearing a noise on my left and on my right, and I'm walking down a fire break. And on my left, there is a big berm. It's like an irrigation ditch, and then it's some farmer's field, and I'm walking down the edge of this thing. And I'm looking through. I hear some movement on my right, and I hear screaming and stuff on my left. And I look to my left, and there's these thick set of either, hollies and wax myrtles on this berm growing up, and it's real thick. And I look through there, and I can see like a little bit of an arm and the index finger and thumb of a hand. And I remember the color of that skin on that hand was gray, and it looked rough and wrinkly. And I remember that the hair that I saw was like a cream white, a dirty cream white color. And as I'm looking to my left, now on my right, there's bushes shaking, like violently. And I look back to my right, and I look back to the left of what I was seeing, and whatever I was looking at was gone. And this sound on my right is getting closer. These trees are shaking. I can hear, brush moving. It's gone from a scream to like just crazy berserk scream holler thing that I can just feel in my chest. And I'm like, okay, I got to see what this is. I got to see what it is. And I start walking towards this sound. And the further off that fire break towards the sound I get, the further into the woods and into the brush the sound gets, if you can follow me. So the closer I think I'm getting to the sound is then moving further into the woods. And at this time, I don't know if you've ever hunted WMAs, but you have to be out of there at dark. You have to be out of there. And like I said before any of this happened, I never put any mind to any Bigfoot stuff, never looked for Bigfoot. So I'm thinking, I need to get the hell out of here. I don't know what this is. I'm starting to think it's somebody messing with me. And I'm thinking I need to go ahead and get out of here and get back to the truck, because I still got like a mile to go to get back to my truck. So I turn around and I start walking back to the truck. And then the noise that I was hearing that kept getting further and further into the bush is now closer up, and I can hear footsteps, like bipedal footsteps. And I stop walking, and I hear two more footsteps, and it stops walking. And I can't see anything through there. It's real thick, and I start walking again, and I hear the footsteps again. And I stop, and I hear a couple more steps, and it stops. And it happened all the way back to my truck. And I get in my truck, and I'm leaving, and the whole time I'm thinking, what the hell just happened? What just happened? Why can't you explain what just happened? Yeah, I'm going over in my head. I've lived in Florida my whole life. I've been out here in these woods. I've hunted. I've fished. I've camped. I've hiked. I've done everything out in these woods, and I've never heard that before. I've never seen a hand like that before. What just happened? What just happened? So I get home, and I'm going through different animal sounds, wildlife sounds of Florida, and I can't find anything. And then under one query of strange sounds or something, there was something like a Bigfoot audio recording or something like that on there, and I click on it, and it sounds very similar to what I heard, and I'm like, there's no fucking way that's a Bigfoot, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I just keep doing more research, and it's pulling me, okay, there might be something to this, and I'm searching on the web, and then that's how I came across one of the some Bigfoot site, and then I actually got Stacy's contact information. He was in Florida, and I got with him on some things, and he was like, you know what, I don't think you're crazy at all. Why don't you come out here, and we can kind of see what these things are, and we can tackle it together. And ever since then, it's been on like Donkey Kong. Been learning a lot. But that's what got me into it right there.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
You know what that sounded like to me? Listening to what that just described. If you think about it, you saw a hand, and here it's moving away, making noise, drawing you into the woods further. That sounds like an ambush.
Man, hey, I was on full alert, and I had a gun with me, and I had to literally push myself to take that next step to go in there and see what it was, and it was definitely. I've got goosebumps right now, standing up, hair standing up on my arms thinking about it.
even when you went back to get back to your vehicle, it sounds like it followed you to try to get you to turn around and come after, making noise like it wanted you, like it was just trying to draw you in. I believe these things are ambush predators. I really believe it. And I think that they are part of their food chain.
Absolutely. Yeah. I believe that they are predators. I believe that they're opportunistic feeders. I think that they'll scavenge. I think that they'll do whatever that they have to do in order to survive. And I mean, I haven't heard too many reports of them being super aggressive towards people, but that certainly doesn't mean that there's not. There's anything can happen out there in the woods. But I tell you what, I did not feel like I was on top of the food chain out there when all that was happening, and that's 100% fact right there. I was not feeling like I was, not like I usually do, like I always have any other time I went out to the woods. I felt like no matter what I come across out here, I'll be okay because I'm the guy with the gun. I did not feel that way when that was happening.
I just want to give you guys a heads up. We're still recording, even though it's on my end. It shows off air. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Blog Talk Radio. Even though we're actually off air to the public, we're still recording. So whatever the public misses, whatever they got cut off on, they're going to miss the last 20 minutes of it. So so we're actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's. I learned that when I first got started doing this. I didn't know it was recording after it shows off air. So, because when it goes off air, we're thinking, hey, we can talk about whatever, but no, it didn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, we can continue on. I just want to give you guys a heads up. We got roughly about 20 minutes left. So,
okay.
So, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, when you're talking about vocalization and stuff, like I said, when you guys get off here, the link I sent you, feel free to check that out. There's one on there I personally find it's interesting. It's very, I don't know. People that hear it sounds like a female screaming. Yeah, I mean, in a way, maybe it does, but at the same time, it sounds like, to me, it sounds like a primate yelling or screaming. And the thing is, I tell people, I said, well, I know it's not a person, because if there was a person where I was camping at, my audio recorder would have picked up the sound of a vehicle. No one's going to walk into that location. You got to drive through that area. It's about almost 7 miles from off the main road. You're on all fours road out here where I'm at. And so yeah, I mean, I could rule out people because there was no one camping up the road. I mean, like I said, if somebody was coming through headed towards the lake, I would have heard the vehicle, prior to that sound or whatever, And so yeah, it's something out there. I can't identify it to anything that's known out there. I mean, I would love to say for sure, yeah, hey, that's a Sasquatch, but that'd be wrong, I mean, but I believe it's definitely something mysterious. I mean, no one could identify what it is. I mean, I've heard owls make I've heard them make all kinds of weird noises. Coyotes make kind of weird, different weird noises. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. It could have been a fox scream. It could have been a weird coyote scream, but I mean, after listening to, like kind of what you did, you went through different known, recordings of different known species. And I mean, to me, maybe someone else might pick up on it. I like to share that kind of stuff. That way, if somebody else listens to it, maybe they might be able to identify it as, well, hey, well, check this out. It kind of sounds like this. I was like, okay. I haven't,
absolutely.
I haven't had no one do that yet. Maybe you guys might get familiar with it or might know about what it is, but it's like I find tracks like you guys have. I have a nice collection of different casts and everything. I mean, some people, hey, that's awesome. There's good stuff, but then again, to a skeptic, it's just too inconclusive. It's not good enough for them, I mean.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that's it. Hey, everything about it's alleged until you get that proof. Which, and at the end of the day, there's only two ways that you can prove it. You can prove it scientifically via the HD picture, full body, no obstructions in front. I mean, pristine picture plus DNA.
Right.
And, the only other way to get it solved is if one was dead. And then you could actually take it somewhere and say, look, it's in the back of my truck right now. And that's the only two ways that it's going to be proved. One would certainly be a lot faster than the other, but and you may accomplish the goal of being able to get protection for the species or whatever. But I mean, honestly, I think that people would have better luck going in there without a gun and collecting it via the picture and the DNA, because I think the evidence that we've collected, I think and what other researchers have collected is that, collectively we're going to be able to get closer to these animals and they're going to have to get to know you a little bit, and each individual researcher in that area, no matter where the research group is, those animals are going to get to know those researchers if they're spending any time out there at all.
Right.
And it may take a little longer, but I think that may be the way to go, is to go with the picture and the DNA and not the body.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. And, I hear, you hear about other people like, well, this is my area. They know me. And I believe there's some truth to that, because there's parts of me that believe that about my main research area. Because there's things when I'm out there by myself, I give off different, vocalizations, or I say things where it may not mean nothing completely at all. But to me, it's me throwing my voice out there. And with me being out there, if they have a sense of smell like a canine does, this is stuff we don't know, but I believe that they know me, and I feel like they get used to me, because it seems like even though they might go away or not want to be around, they do. It seems like they let you know they're there, They're not quiet when they are there, And this is something else I kind of picked up on. I shared this with people. I don't know. I have yet to hear this from anyone else. Owls. Now, this is an observation I picked up over a period of time, and I shared this information back in the first week of September when we all camped out there. I told everybody I told them too. I said, listen, if you guys start hearing owls, especially right around your camp, I says, everyone start listening. Be very cautious. Be more alert. When you start hearing owls, something's going to happen. There's going to be activity following. It may not happen right away, but something's in the area. Because through my observations, the barred owls, we have a lot of owls in my area, and you hear them from a distance. You hear their vocalizations, bouncing off the hollows and the mountains. But in that area, when the owls sound off, the activity that takes place after that is anywhere from unknown vocalizations, tree knocks, and just a lot of heavy movement. And when I say heavy movement, I'm referring to the sound of heavy weight moving through the woods. And I've experienced that very close one time, which undoubtedly I believed it was, even though I didn't see it, I believed it was a squatch. One particular time I was camping by myself, again, in the same woods where we had our encounter, back in 2014. But yeah, back in the early, back during the hunting season last year, it was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I walked from my camp out to the road, and I had a spotlight in my hand, but I did not have it turned on, and I walked in the dark out to the middle of the road, just sat there quiet, stood there quietly, didn't hear nothing. But as soon as I turned my spotlight on, started shining in the woods, see if I could see anything or whatever, right away to my immediate left, you could hear a deer. I didn't see the deer, but I heard it. I know the sound of a deer when it runs or takes off. Now, as soon as I heard that, the deer took off. But right over to my right, it had to have been within maybe 10 to, I don't know, maybe this is exaggerating, but 10 to 20 feet within the tree line. The only thing I heard, you could hear every bipedal step as it took a step. You hear every thump, and it was a loud thump and crash with every step it took. It didn't run, but the walks weren't, slow either. But you could hear boom, boom, boom. But the sound of his steps as it stepped on every limb or whatever it was step on. You could hear it crack and thump, and it was like, I don't know. I didn't see it, but I tell you what, it made me walk backwards to my camp. And then as I was holding that spotlight in the tree, in the the tree line, I reached down because I had my keys clipped to my belt loop. I was pushing the unlock button on my on my Blazer just in case I had to run and jump into my Blazer.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it had me on edge there. I mean, I can't. So I guess that was one of my most nervous moments because I was completely by myself and I experienced that. But that subject apparently it didn't want nothing to do with me. It was walking away from me, but I was still cautious because I knew what I was hearing, and it was exciting too. After my nerves calmed down, I was like, dude, I started making the fire a little bit bigger too, but So
I don't blame
I
you.
had me a 12-gauge shotgun there, but but still, it didn't, But like I said, I was camping out and getting up to go hunting in the morning, but anytime I'm out in the woods, I'm always people don't realize when you're out in the woods, if you're a squatcher, like we are, you're observant, you're alert to everything out there,
Oh yeah, gotta be.
Yeah, we're always squatching regardless. But
oh yeah, and it's interesting you said something about the owls. They me personally, I've experienced this when the owls start calling each other and stuff. It seems like there's this one. It's like being imitated. I truly believe that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Skunk Ape imitate other animals. And
I've heard
that before. And I've heard, I really not being into sound and music, I handle a lot of the parabolics and stuff, but I get a pattern of animals. But then you see that out of sync, whether it's, something trying to imitate it, and I agree with you. I hear it in the coyotes sometimes. I'll hear the coyotes going all crazy, and then you'll hear this one in the middle of it or something, or towards the end, and it's trying to imitate or something, and then they shut up. And we've gotten that audio before.
Oh, right. It seems like there'll be one that'll go off, and all
same with
whistles
too.
Quiet.
You'll hear that whistle, and it ain't a bird. It's like a bad, somebody that doesn't whistle.
See, I was resharing that information not long ago about the whistle. I mean, because I didn't see what did it, I had more or less pawned it off as being a bird. But in the one area, this ain't far from my main research. It's in that area, but a few miles up the road, up on a higher ridge where I camp sometimes too. There's another road that branches off of there. You can only travel by foot because it goes into a dead end field. I experienced that before. I've heard other whistles in the woods here and there. Never thought nothing of them.
Oh right.
But there's one.
Think about it. Like the birds don't have lips, so they're doing more of a guttural imitation compared to when a person uses their lips. So you can hear that with wind, protruding through lips, and you can tell it's more of a whistle by either a human or something. Creature. Than a bird.
Well, I mean, what I heard stopped me in my tracks because it was loud and it was sharp, and I was like, I stopped, and I looked over. I'm looking, on the side I was looking over from the direction it came. It goes down the ridge. It kind of slopes down, but it's also real thick too. So I was like, it had to have been a bird, and so I continued walking. But another 20 feet, as I got in, kept going up the road. I got stopped in my tracks again because on the opposite side of the road, down in the woods where in the pine thicket is, I get a tree knock. I was like, what? I had this loud pierce, then I get a tree knock. I said, maybe that wasn't a bird, I mean, there's something here, because also keep in mind, in this location, it was the first time I ever come across my first biggest track ever. I have a 18-inch track. Came out of the area. Yeah. And that was just
there.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Most of my tracks I found in the area, in the whole general area only range about between 14 to 16 inches. That 18 inches blew my mind because it was very long. It wasn't entirely wide, but it still impressed me, because I took a picture before I casted it and I took a picture afterwards. And, of course, you can make out the toes in the cast, but if you saw the track the original track before I cast it, you could see the toes in the track, which impressed me enough to go off. It was almost a mile walk back out of there, go to my Blazer just to get my plaster, just to go back in. So I mean, because sometimes when I go off, I leave my vehicle, I go for a hike. I don't carry a lot of stuff with me sometimes. I mean, if I plan on being out in the woods for a while, I'll load up my backpack, throw some water in there, and then I'll have enough plaster with me just in case, and some water in there. I mean, it's a lot of weight in that backpack I carry. It's a regular Field and Stream rucksack, and I mean, I've gone a lot of terrain with it, but sometimes it's just a lot of weight to carry sometimes, and it gets to your shoulders after a while. But lately I've gotten lazy about it. It's like, well, if I come across a track, I'll try to mark the location. I'll come back and cast it later, But I've done that quite a few times. So, but
you do know, Daniel, if you switch from high point to Glock, you'll lose 10 pounds of that weight in that bag.
What's that?
If you switch from that high point pistol to a Glock pistol, you'll lose 10 pounds of weight in that bag.
Well, this is before I started carrying my high point with me. Yeah.
I'm telling you,
I like my high point 45.
I tell you what, if you're close enough to shoot it, and you got a DNA dart gun, I mean, that's going to be your best bet for getting blood, skin, hair, all three that can't be indisputed when testing. I mean, I've heard so many ideas, and people are saying, I don't want to kill it, but, can I tranquilize it?
Now, see, I've had discussions with people about that before, and I thought it was a good idea, but people are like, well, you got to consider if you put too much, you got to figure out the dosage that you're going to use. How big of the animal is, could it kill them, stuff like that.
Exactly, but the DNA dart gun is that like we have. I mean, if you can, it's going to get all you need: the blood, the skin, the hair, the follicles from the hair, which is a very nice piece of DNA.
Now, how exactly does that work? 'Cause, I mean, is that something that could piss an animal off?
Yeah, that's what you wanted to do, rip that thing right out and throw it on the ground. But it'll eventually come out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's powered
the
by
darts
22.
fall out, but it's going to know it's been hit, though, that's for sure.
It's got a 22, isn't it? I believe it's a 22 shell.
Yeah, it's got a 22 shot shell that goes with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it fires a dart. Yeah,
no,
it's just like a biopsy dart. It gets the hair, the skin, that first few skin layers and some tissue and stuff, but it falls right out. It doesn't necessarily hurt the animal.
Nice. Here's another question. This is my final question. If Shaky has anything else to share, but I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, do you guys ever travel the East Coast, come up north?
I do.
I go up there usually. Just in I go up to North Carolina. I go up there. I haven't really done any squatching in Virginia or anywhere like that. I've been to Michigan up there.
Okay.
But no, I've never been to Virginia or anywhere like that. I need to get out there though, because I hear you guys have a lot of activity up there in Virginia.
Oh my goodness!
So that's one of my.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well,
where's Shaky
the other thing
at?
is, what's that?
Where does
right
Shaky
here.
live? No, I mean, where do you live?
I'm in West Virginia.
Shaky's in West Virginia.
I'm in the Eastern Panhandle.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the Shenandoah the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia?
Yes.
Yeah, I live right in the middle of the valley here. So.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah. The county. You got Augusta County, and then you got Rockingham County, which is all in the valley here. So, yeah. But most of the area, is you got the George Washington National Forest. I tell you what, if you ever get a chance, I'll be glad to show you around. Yeah, there's a lot of wildlife up there, bears, deer, mountain lions. I found tracks of all of them. I mean, so they're up here. I've actually seen a black panther. The other gentleman that was with me, he witnessed it. Well, this happened last year. At first, when we were seeing it, we didn't know what the heck we were seeing. It was just on the side of the road. It's like, what the heck is that? All I saw was black. I thought maybe could it be a small bear. But now, when it got up and went across the road, you saw the whole thing. Holy crap! Yeah. So that was interesting. And just 2 miles
Scott
from
Marlowe
that location.
That you know who Scott Marlowe is?
Oh yes, very much so. We know him too well.
He saw one. Yeah, he saw one here in where I live, over near Mayaca, back in the 70s.
Y'all got pumas down there anyway, right? Panthers down there anyway. The Florida Panthers.
Yeah. Obviously, I think Stacy and Josh came across a black jaguar. Now that's real feasible. I mean, you're talking, coming from South America, through Central America, and coming in Texas, Louisiana area. I can see that very feasible. But it's definitely, you can see the spots, but it's black. But I mean, if you're in a certain
and see, a lot of people don't, you got a lot of people that do believe, but then again, a lot of people find it hard to believe that there's mountain lions here in Virginia. If you study the history of wildlife here in Virginia, all the elk's been reintroduced, here in Virginia. They're more common down in the southwest parts of Virginia. I do have reason to believe that they're up around where I'm at. I've actually seen very large, what appears to be deer droppings, but very large, almost the size droppings as round as quarters. I mean, I know that ain't a deer. It can't be. I mean, but I've never seen an elk up here, but can't say there isn't any here because I haven't seen them, But yeah, as far as mountain lions were once introduced. They were very common to the state of Virginia at one point, So a lot of people don't realize that they're here. You will talk to your National Game Commission. They're not going to believe it. They might say, well, some of them might be honest. Well, I've heard stories, but then you're gonna have the ones that say, nah, we don't have them here in Virginia. Bull crap. We got them. We do. There's too many people that are seeing them. My buddy Richard, his some Mennonites that he does, helps do some work on his farm had a very large one that was coming on their property there. Messing with the livestock, but unfortunately never harmed nothing. But he was being seen around there in the field. But yeah, they're here.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off. You were going to say something?
Who's that?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was you, David, or I don't know.
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought one of you guys were getting ready to say something there. So.
Oh, it's just about the cat.
Oh, okay.
It was Florida. Florida only has anywhere from 75 to 100, but we were able to get thermal off of a female with 2 cubs. Stacy did actually. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, they're really rare. The wild fish and game tell you there's not very many here.
Right.
From all the way from Glades all the way.
Too.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Fishing game famous for lying too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Seems like all these game ones are lying. They don't want to admit things that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, there's 2 game wardens up here that I've gotten to know on, I guess you could say, on a personal level, and and they both work different locations, and depending on what location I'm in, I know which one I'm going to end up meeting. That may come around to check on things, and one's she's got to be in her, I don't know, mid to upper 30s, and she's gotten to know me, and, I've camped in this location with other people, and I seen her pull up and go down to check on the other people. I said, oh, man, I better go over there and let her know who we are, because she don't know those people because they're from out of state, and so, I was like, hey, Kate, it's they're with me. And I said, oh, hey, so, and it's same like in the other area, I tell the guy, Ron, it's, these are people with me. We're all doing the Bigfoot thing here. He's like, okay, no problem. Guys, have a good day. It's like once they get to know who you are and what you do, it's like, okay, they want to leave you alone.
Oh,
like,
yeah. That's cool.
Leave those nutcases alone.
Better off staying away from them.
Yep.
There's a really cool interview from a game guy back in the Sasquatch Hunters YouTube. Where he said he ran one over in Apalachiacola, and I think it was 98. Don't quote me on that. But, I mean, it is an interesting story. I mean, to say the least, that he ran right over and killed the thing. He'd tell you right where he ran it over from shoulder to jaw. Was laying there and called him up. The men in black come. Well, not so much men in black did the head wildlife and game come. It's a really cool interview. It's a 2-parter.
Oh, wow.
But they come, and he's with 3 other, I think, or 4 guys of his companions, and they put it in the truck. So, yeah, they run over some kind of monkey. And it wasn't a real big one. It was like maybe like 5 foot.
Right.
It's just like a bodybuilding thing. I mean, it looked like this bodybuilding giant chimp-looking thing, and brought it back, and then somebody comes out with name tags and said, hey, no, you guys ran over a bear, and collected all the stuff. And they go, no, we ran over this monkey thing, giant monkey thing. And they're like, no, and so on. I guess if you listen to the story, they was threatened, and blah, blah, blah. But that's a pretty good story because it was in the Apalachiacola and the big forest fire. I mean, you can Google it. And he was going to the back road supposedly saving animals, and they were kind of hauling ass, about 40, one of them big giant, with the big tube on the front of the truck, and come running on all fours, jumped the fence. They thought it was a bear, and he hit right over it and went back, and then they said it was just like this monkey-looking thing, and freaking out and called the headquarters. Yeah, we got something we ran over. And
I've heard that interview.
Yeah, you've heard it? It's TV.
Yeah.
I don't know what part 3.
SQUATCH Chronicles or something, but I remember hearing that interview or something.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, he's wildlife, and they we're threatened about pension and stuff, I guess, or something right down the line. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've always found it interesting to hear stories about, one of interviews I had with, are you guys familiar with Melissa George out of South Carolina?
No.
No, she's there's a small group there. It's her, her daughter, and their husbands are all involved. But they shared a story on with us on an interview I had with them on a live YouTube podcast, and I found it very interesting that what they had to share, because I'm starting to think there could be some truth behind this. But they witnessed all these helicopters and these dark vehicles showed up after a report of a possible, what they believed to be a Bigfoot that crossed the road. Supposedly some vehicles hit it, and I don't know what happened, but they were on hold on the line, and then they were being transferred, and this and that. And then within an hour or so, you had all these vehicles, and everything else started showing up, And I've heard similar stories here in Virginia that took place in southern parts of Virginia, and it's like you kind of wonder, it's like, are they covering something up, or are they trying to hide it to prevent a panic or something? I mean, because I've done a blog post about possible panic, the possible, I hate to say it, but the government might be trying to cover something up for a number of reasons. Because I mean, if something like Sasquatch was. Yeah, the spotted owl back in 1981. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. The economy crashed because the logging industry shut down for a period of time, and it just led to some chaos. Job hurt and everything else. But so I think some people, they may look at it like this. They have the large unknown species was discovered and acknowledged publicly. I mean, and they declared it an endangered species. And what can that do to all our national forests or anything, any continuing law? So it's all kinds of things to think about, but to consider. So you kind of, it makes you wonder sometimes. We don't know. I mean, because government's always going to keep things quiet. They have a lot of things that keep quiet to the public, but so I don't know. But well, Shaky, before we jump off, do you have any last words or any questions you want to throw out to them?
No, it's a pleasure, meeting you, Stevie. I mean, you become like a brother to me, man, and it's a pleasure, finally getting to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Really appreciate this.
Hey, we're gonna go squatching.
Oh yeah,
we're all gonna get together and do a little bit of squatching.
Always welcome up here in West Virginia.
Yeah, you come down, come to Mayaca, mi casa, su casa. I'm telling you, brother.
Hey, yeah, open invitation to both of you guys and your team. If you guys want to come down anytime,
that'd be awesome.
You can come down here and we'll go out and we'll put you on them, man. We'll have a good time.
Oh, that would be most definitely awesome. I mean, I know I got family down in Florida, so I mean they're awesome, to get down there too,
Can we kill any hogs and have a pig roast or anything like that while we're down there?
Hey, we can certainly find some. We can certainly find them.
I want to go hog hunting so bad.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, if you guys ain't doing nothing next year around May 20th, feel free to come check out the Don Peaks Wilderness Adventures Bigfoot and Dogman conference. Yeah.
Okay.
Gonna be,
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be attending that.
Cool.
Yeah, I was actually asked to be one of the guest speakers there, so I'll be there to be as one of the speakers. So.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's big news. I mean, it's exciting to me. I mean, I didn't think I was, ever asked to join anything like that, but So yeah, Don Peaks, he's got a number of people lined up. He's pulling together for that event. So it to me, I think it's going to be very exciting. And he was, people brought up to him, well, what about May 20th, Ohio? You got the big Ohio conference that goes on every year, same day. Saying, he's not trying to compete with nobody, but that's what he wanted to do. And I don't know. He's like, people could go where they want. The only thing that's going to cost to get in. Yeah, his cost to get in is just to cover the rental place, and any proceeds are going to the American Cancer Society is what he's going to be doing. So
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
David and Stacy, they pulled off the first Florida Skunk Ape conference. I mean, they were able to get Lauer Blackburn, man. I really love his band. And Eldrum and Tim Fasano.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Fun. A lot of fun. We had a great time, man.
Most definitely.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show, man. I really appreciate it. It was awesome. It was good to do it, and I look forward to working with you in the future, man. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It was an honor to have you guys here. I'm glad you guys, agreed to do this. This was very awesome. I was like, yeah, I don't know. It was mind blowing. I love to hear what you guys had to share, your information, and I'll feel, I might send you, a question about something later on. I mean. Especially
likewise, man. I'll have some questions for you for sure, man. I want to get an idea of what that Virginia land looks like. And get up there and hang out with you guys.
I can tell you, it's full of fucking rocks and hills.
not according to Monster Mountain guys, man. They got stuff every week out there.
Oh man, those guys are they're cool, man. Yeah, they're all strictly entertainment.
Well, I know every episode where they get the best prints, the best thermal, the best stories. Man, but you know what? We all watch, don't we?
Yep, that's what they're there for.
They're actually a real team, and they started off, they actually did investigate, but Hollywood got in there, and it became entertainment. And
yeah. I just love when them guns are pointing at each other's heads and across the camera guy's face. I just have a kick out of it.
Yeah, people always ask me, hey, what if you get your own show like Finding Bigfoot? I said the only way that would ever work for me is if it'll be a contract where it's going to cover my bills because, I mean, I'm a normal working American. I work every day, and I bring home very little every 2 weeks, because, I mean, I'm a single. Yeah, I'm a single father. I got custody of my oldest daughter, but I got child support comes out for another child. So, it's like it's a tough situation,
Wow.
Yeah.
But we're all in it for the one thing, and that's the truth. We're going to bring it in.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The only way I do it, I mean, I wouldn't be in there to try to get rich. I mean, just long enough it covers my bills. That's all I want.
Yes.
I'll be glad to help.
Somebody told me the other day it's gonna be somebody was telling me it's gonna be some 90-year-old lady that's gonna run it over and she's gonna call Matt Moneymaker. That's what's gonna be it.
Wow.
Story over. It's real. Because Matt said
so. I have to go
SQUATCH Oldsmobile.
Hey, you say what you want to say about Matt, but he was cool with me. I mean, he was cool. I mean, I got to do some production assistant for Finding Bigfoot, and he was always good. Bobo's the best. Yeah. I mean, nobody rocks like him, though.
Yeah, what about Cliff? I mean, I always found Cliff and Bobo the most, I don't know what the right word to use. Authentic, I guess. I don't know. That may not be the right word, but yeah, they're... Yeah, I mean, they're very real about everything, and they do a lot of their own side research apart from the show, too, from what I understand. So, That's awesome.
Cliff is a very astute man. He takes it very seriously.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's ever seen one, just like Shaky was saying. But, I'd rather see that than scripted stuff, I guess.
Yeah. One thing Cliff did for me not long ago, and I use it on some of my live podcasts. When I do my webcast shows, I pre-record them, and then I upload them later. But I have a little intro. It's only, about maybe 10 to 14 seconds long that Cliff did for me introducing my show, which was awesome. So, I use it on occasion. So.
Now Renee told me, I was talking to her one night, it's like, boy, you must do a lot of shows. This must be something else every day and stuff like this. So what's the best piece of evidence? She goes, without a doubt, Stacy Brown's thermal, his dad's thermal. So,
I found that very impressive too, but then you hear other people who you see that like they question it, like, well, what's their question?
It was taken apart. It was taken apart by Flair. I mean, people were saying it was CGI'd, and no, Flair came out and said no. I mean, they watched it. They won't say it's Bigfoot, but they said sign it to the WWE or NFL. I mean, Cliff Berkman, if you haven't read that research, that man did tear it apart. I mean, and then there's the recreation with Bobo, and you don't even see Renee go, yeah, I think that's Squatch. And Matt, without doubt, Matt Moneymaker says the same thing. So,
right.
I mean,
I mean, the other thing is,
out.
a lot of people aren't familiar how a FLIR works or what it appears to be. They don't realize it's not going to look like your high-def video camera. A FLIR is picking up heat only, so people are unfamiliar with the layout of all that. So, but
are you familiar with the TK Scout? Now they coming out with like a $600.
Yeah, $600. If that's 100, about 100 yards it picks up, which that sounds pretty good. I mean, a gentleman just picked one up. I asked him about his. He said he's impressed with his, the clarity. Cool. I mean, the way it works. I mean. So that's something I'm going to have to invest in. So that's one of the things on my list around tax time. So
Christmas.
Yeah. It's because it's funny because my father, he's helped get a lot of things for me. He loves what I do, and he's always asking me. He says, "What do you need? What do you need?" I said, "Well, I would love to have this. This would be helpful." So he surprised me and picked up a few things for me here and there. So but. Always helps to have a sponsor, right?
Oh, amen.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you what, gentlemen. I know you're probably trying to get to bed. I don't blame you because I'm gonna go out. I gotta go out tomorrow anyway. So, but again, thank you guys very much for coming on. It was a great show. Definitely got to do this again. Maybe if you guys are willing to get show your faces next time, we can do the podcast. And do an open discussion that way.
Yeah, so, for sure, man.
Yeah.
Just let me know when, brother.
Should I have my clown makeup on?
Hey, if you want, that's up to you. I mean,
I really appreciate it. I appreciate you playing that music, brother.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll even go out with it.
Right on.
So,
well, gentlemen, I'm going to bed.
Thank you for sure. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. You too. God bless, guys.
All right, Shaky. I'll be talking to you.
Thank you for listening to Squatch Zone Radio. If you haven't done so, subscribe to YouTube channel ECBRO 98. This is Daniel Benoit, your host and founder and researcher of the ECBRO. God bless everyone. Have a good night. And become a follower of Squatch Zone Radio.
At Dominion, 1 in 5 new hires is a U.S. veteran, and when they're away, they miss out on a lot. But they won't miss out on financial support because Dominion covers any difference between their military pay and their Dominion salary and continues benefits for veterans and their families for up to 5 years. We're proud to have been named a Best for Vets employer by Military Times Magazine 7 years in a row. Dominion. Depend on us for more than energy.
Jimmy John's, America's #1 sandwich delivery, fast Ed speaking. I'm on my way.
I'm in the backyard here, Ed. Wow, you are fast.
Yes, sir. Freaky fast and freaky good. But I gotta say, I've never delivered to a dude in a doghouse.
Well, I'm definitely in the doghouse.
I thought in the doghouse was just an expression, a figure of speech.
Well, the doghouse is a very real place.
How long are you condemned to your canine quarters?
Too soon to tell, but on the bright side...
The doghouse has a bright side?
Yeah, the wife can't throw a lamp this far.
Oh! I guess she's been working out.
Order Jimmy John's sandwich delivery today. Jimmy John's. Freaky fast. Freaky fresh.